Welcome in. Uh, okay. Well, the construction crew is finally done. Yeah. The construction crew is finally done. It took a little bit. By the way, you can probably sound here. You can hear my sound. I'm gonna sound a little weird today because my face is still healing. But otherwise, I'm the same old. But if voices are a little bit monotone or together, that's not my fault. But if voices are a little bit like wiggly, that's why.
It's okay. You having your face kicked in is only gonna make you sound more like Orion.
That's true. Especially as of recent, she got kidney punched twice.
Which, by the way, remember to recover your harms and to roll for
Oh,
familiar.
I don't think you took any harms
Then
last
don't
week.
recover.
At least I wasn't dishing any out.
Oh yes, I could recover my small bane.
See, now, that I've had to tone down those jokes because when I make them around these guys, they think I'm serious now.
I don't think you're serious.
No, I'm kidding. I don't joke hit on you anymore.
Yeah.
Hold up, are we getting on the homies in here? I'm just kidding. Hi guys. I'm back.
Hello.
I'm fighting. Go ahead.
Go for it.
I'm fighting every
Homies?
fucking gremlin urge in my brain to just like spam the fuck out of the ring bell. But I will not do it.
Spin the ring
The
bell.
homies are either
Bastard.
taken or gay mythics.
I will become gayer. This is a challenge.
Or both, yes, in your case.
Okay.
Wait, I got kicked. Wait, what?
Yes, I kicked you.
Damn! Why did it close me a desktop? Wait, why am I looking at my desktop? I clicked OK. Went to my Steam page. What? What is this?
I use my most powerful spell, crash my game.
Crush my ball.
Alright, so in the meantime, Memphis, would you do me such a kind and roll me a d20?
Ah!
Excellent! With a 3, that is definitely with a 3 that's definitely under 20. So let's go to the familiar.
You don't say.
I don't know, Vivi, is it under a 20? I can't count.
Wouldn't you like to know?
Yes. Give me another d20.
You got it. 13.
God, you couldn't have a small okay.
What about Mythics has ever screamed, I need things to be small? That's what I thought.
Okay, let me hold on. Let me recount that.
Yeah, that's a tough one, Jesus.
7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Okay, I'm gonna huh.
Can I slightly shake the table and add +1 to the die, please?
Wait, what's his desire? What's happening?
Use a sleight of hand to cause a meta action.
13.
I love that.
13. What's a 13?
That's fun.
6, 7, 8,
Okay,
9, 10,
so
12,
so what action would you like to perform, Reese?
What?
I thought you said sleight of hand meta action. Sorry.
I meant can I meta sleight of hand and kick an extra +1 to that roll?
You can or well, Mythics, you can D's nuts it and choose your result instead if you want.
I don't know. I'm rolling 4 right now.
So
Too
this
familiar.
you're rolling. So you got
Oh,
underneath your
familiar.
insight. So your familiar is
Ah.
asking you one of these desires. The
Okay.
current one it's on is to replace your bond with one of its own, which is rough. So if you would like to not do that, I am offering you the ability to use the D's Nuts token to set it to whatever else you want to do. Basically, instead, you can just pick one from the list.
Okay. Let's see.
So is that what you're going with?
I'm debating because like part of me would love for Vasha to like I would be very curious to see what one of Vasha's bonds would be. I would accept the consequences of this.
Would it be temporary?
No.
He's permanent.
No, this is a
No,
this
that's-
is a very permanent thing.
Okay.
So you have keep enemies and friends close, rival and friend of unknown, once an orchard, and dreams of starry nights and peace as your bonds.
Yep. I
So
would offer up once an orchard as a trade out of bond unless it has to be random.
no,
If it has to be random, then
no, it can be that if you want. So basically,
yeah.
So basically, Vath, bonds are your HP in this game. Is the best way that I know how to describe it. They're the core traits of your character. They're what make up your character. They're you could think about it like your three like the three things that make your person themselves. They're a way to keep track of your humanity and how much you've lost to yourself. Um, for example, Orion has lost a bond. I think Fire Fist has lost 2. Yeah.
Day 2, I lost 2.
Yeah. Um. Yeah. So Orion no longer wants a home because she got rid of that want. Uh. So it's a pretty big deal. Basically, you have 4 HP. Well, you have 3 HP in wizards, and so if this goes through, Myth is offering to give out one of those. Terra has not yet. That's what we're currently discussing.
I mean, to be fair, it's more like I would say track of humanity because technically you can have up to 19 corruption and still be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's one bond for another. So the one that was it was a desire that was lost. With that one, the wishing tree worked a little bit differently. It didn't ask just for bonds, if I remember.
Yeah.
It just depended on what the wishing tree wanted.
Yeah.
Basically.
The yearning tree. I gave up my
Yeah, yearning tree.
my wish that I had for the yearning tree. So
Mhm.
Orion no longer wants to be an architect. Their aspiration for what they wanted to achieve is gone. They don't really have something to want.
Probably part of why they're a sociopath now.
Probably.
So my logic for this one and why I am totally down for Vasha having one of the bonds, I actually know which one to replace already for it, is simply the fact that Vasha's been a pretty kick-ass familiar and has been pretty helpful for us in some instances. In some cases it's gone sideways, but overall it's been pretty entertaining. So like as kind of a familiar owner, I would consider it pretty like Terra loves Vasha. I think they're just like, I never know what this little creature is going to do, and I can't wait to see what happens next. So it would feel very normal for her to be like, yeah, no, like like what my dreams, like your dreams can be part of my dreams, basically.
Okay. So Vath, basically the way that this works is that your 3 bonds are let me see, either like they're like the strongest desires, hopes, dreams, friends, or memories you have. They're kind of like a one sentence descriptor of the core parts of what that being is. So Vasha would, for example, have 3. You can think of like what the core things of Vasha are. So like what 3 things they desire, what 3 things, doesn't have to all be the same thing, but basically pick one core thing about them, and that will be what what you're trading for that.
Yep,
starting off-
I already sent you the bonds. That way you can have a chance to noodle on it. Can definitely move on to other parts of play for you guys now on that one. Thanks for. I'm excited.
Thank you, EJ. Thank you so much. Oh my god, 2 fucking is that 2? That is 2 years. Jesus fuck.
2 years. Holy shit, EJ.
2
God
years.
damn.
I think I had 45 with Myth earlier when I popped in the stream for a sec.
Oh my god.
Holy crap.
I know, right?
Jesus, bro.
Maybe it's,
Thank you so much.
there we go.
Yeah, that's right. She's giving out one of her core bonuses.
Not core bonuses, core parts of her character.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I said. um in the meantime, while Vath figures out that Solstice, would you mind hitting the jukebox?
I'm hitting the jukebox. Actually, this is actually on Soul Song Machines. This is actually straight from his WizWoo.
So
Yes.
as we're in our rooms waking up or getting like all of our stuff sorted, we recently had a little bit of a renovation that you can see around. You hear blasting from one of the rooms this song.
Grief groggily walks out. Which room?
It sounds like it is very quietly coming from Orion's room and very loudly coming from Solstice's room.
Solstice? The fuck?
It's unlocked.
Solstice,
He is very aggressively. He doesn't notice you're there. He is very aggressively doing the dance that Keto is doing on stream. He's just very aggressively doing the bird brain dance.
Grief steps back out. What? I'm gonna ninja mail trust a second.
Yeah.
Tara has socks on and is sliding on the hardwood floors.
We are a very serious group of tabletop players, as you can tell.
Alice pokes her head out, just sees Sarah sliding all over, and just goes back in her room slowly.
Okay, hold on.
I assume the laughing is my ninja mail.
Yes.
Okay.
You made the mistake of perceiving me.
Broadcasting initiated. Screens falling down.
What'd you say?
And so what you see is a video feed of Solstice busting it down with a little bit of swag appear from the walls that you didn't know they could do in your respective rooms, and you just see him dancing, completely unaware of your ability to see him.
What the fuck is going on? I'm not sober enough.
Bro,
for this.
we got videos of you on Witch Talk.
What? What? I don't know.
Fire Fist!
The fuck do you want?
You hear the music? Do you
Yeah,
hear
I
the tune?
fucking hate it.
Get out of here! Come bust it down with us!
Not if your fucking life depended on it.
Grief goes back to bed.
Fire just is annoyed at this point. He's going outside to.
Knocked
Joke
over
said-
Tara. Tara, he walks into the room. Tara is sliding down the hallway, doesn't see him, and fucking biffs it on the kitchen table.
See,
Hey.
Firefist jokes. Firefist, there's actually a speaker mounted next to the door. It's playing the song outside as well.
No, there was a speaker mounted next door. That speaker's currently on fire and making horrible electronic sounds.
No.
Sounds like a microwave Furby.
Actually, yes, it does. It sounds like exactly like that.
Hey, Alice,
It's just
from-
going on over there like.
Hey, Alice, your wall with like the Olympic right there is like shaking occasionally. The
Alice
wall
pops a
between.
rift into the wall and just pokes her head in. The fuck are you doing?
You see like Orion, who was dancing, freeze, slowly turn to face you, and then just she like stiffens up and becomes like like the most default human pose you can have.
Alice just slowly starts grinning, gives you a thumbs up. Turn it down a bit. Have fun.
Did Orion just T-pose for dominance?
No,
Yeah, why-
she stick posed from embarrassment.
Get stick bug lol.
Tara, why are you on the floor?
Hey,
I
Dino.
I slipped on Firefist.
Hey
Um,
yo.
Can
Ew.
you please try and do that in your bedroom and not in the middle of the day? That'd be a lot.
I'm wearing socks.
And not where we eat.
Right. Yeah, not where we eat. That's a good point.
I. She gestures to the unliquefied table.
Okay.
Tables normally aren't
They-
liquid.
I really hope that there is no liquid on the table that isn't contained in a glass or a mug.
Anyway,
Ah,
Tara, would you do me a solid? Would you please roll a d6? A d6 would be right here.
I was just about to ask. It's a little buddy.
Mm-hmm.
That's a 4.
Okay.
I dove headfirst into the corner nest, by the way. I'm loving the additions to the map. This is so much fun.
Hell yeah.
Oh, are you done busting a move in here?
Ah!
No, we voted that stupid shit off.
That was just. Sorry. Just enjoying a new song that I found. It's pretty
Hey.
good.
Uh-huh.
That was a fucking bop.
The only boss that was me one the punch this person who made it.
What?
Firefist, I gotta introduce you to more genres, buddy.
No, you don't.
Oh, God. One
I'm
second.
contractually obligated not to. Ozzy's orders.
Wait, what's your deal with Ozzy?
Yeah, he's a god of metal. I don't do anything but metal.
Okay,
Are you-
can you
wait.
not listen? Yeah, okay, yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Solstice
can
is
you not-
asking the questions that I need to ask now.
Can you
It's
not
like
listen to-
asking. It's like asking a nun she can participate in an orgy.
Well, it depends on
I
the nun.
mean, you might be a really cool monk.
No, none.
Granted.
Tara, but. Huh?
Don't
Huh?
worry about it.
Stop messing with my fucking ship, Wreath.
What the fuck's going on?
Just have been asking him some very nice suggestions. Don't worry.
Okay, stop that.
No. He's sentient.
What?
I'm allowed to talk to him.
I'd rather you didn't mess with my fucking ship.
So you're claiming ownership of a sentient being.
I'm claiming ownership I'm claiming ownership of the ship that he resides in, that he
Okay.
manages.
Well, I mean, I'm not.
He's my assistant. I'm not claiming ownership, but I didn't give you permission to do whatever you're doing with him. He's my assistant. My house.
All right. Reap sips coffee.
What are you doing? Stop.
No promises.
Saber, what did you just do? Please.
1 second. Thank you.
Oh. This is my private Thomas. I will not be
No,
harassed, bitch. So probably shocking.
So, you kind of, as we hear Saber, I'm still in Saber voice, aren't I? No, I'm not. Okay.
Nope.
As we hear like Saber start to talk. No worries, Vath. I got it. No. As we hear Saber's voice start to talk, Meph, Vasha, as you're laying there, like kind of sploots and looks directly into your eyes, and we kind of hear the her eyes glow, bright white, and we kind of like the sound of everything else around her kind of dampens as it does.
Uh,
Oh. What's up, buddy? She hunkers down in the pillows with her to look into her eyes.
Vasha has a request. It's very obvious that it's time for your tribute.
What's this snacky for today? This one feels special.
You.
Wait, I'm the treat?
One of my dreams for one of yours.
Hmm. Well, you've been a really helpful little friend to me. So I would love to see what your dreams look like. I'm down for that trade.
So it is. 1 second. Huh? Oh shit! I forgot to say what Tavern Special. Tavern Special is Mythic's soul apparently.
Tasty.
Let's see if this works for us. That'll do. So Vash's eyes light up, and you feel something inside of you start to change as your eyes also glow. And your hair starts to kind of lift up as if by static. And we're kind of just helpless to watch this happen. Let's see. Luna probably would have been here by now. Oh dear. As you feel, your one of your desires, which was the one to have an orchard, begin to fade. For some reason, it just doesn't feel like it fits you anymore. If anyone else is looking at Tara's sheet, I would like you to politely fuck off for just because we're gonna. She'll read it. Don't worry about it. And instead, it is replaced by something interesting. You are welcome to either voice or keep this desire hidden. It is up to you.
I'm excited. Oh,
Yeah.
hmm.
Uh-oh.
I will save the first part. Is it possible for me to hide the second part?
Yes. You can definitely omit information. It is the mark of a good mage. To quote the ancient Magus Bride, it is the mark of a good mage to never lie, but to know when to
Damn!
when to omit information.
All right, then I will say the first part, which is that my new desire is to feast on the magic in the wastes. Feast upon the magic of the waste is such a crazy dream. I fucking love that.
Oh,
Oh god.
that's unique.
Huh. That's new.
Hi, Frunger.
Yeah, something about the way that you say it. There's just this like there's just this feeling. There's just a sound, this intonation from your voice. It kind of sounds like it comes off as like a beast wanting its prey. You don't intend for it to sound that way, but it definitely comes off that way.
Oh shit.
This has been much weirder since I've joined you guys.
Yeah, I normally I would judge, but at this point, this is kind of how it goes.
I-
See, that's the reason why y'all say that fucking Terra is normal out of character, is the fact that y'all get into such fucking crazy shit ahead of time that by the time it's her turn, it's just like, yeah, they're just kind of like that.
Sorry about that. I realized that the
What's up?
music spiked suddenly in volume.
Oh, very thoughtful of you to keep track of.
That's why I keep it limited. I have a very strong limiter for the browser audio, so it makes it so that even if it does spike, it can only get so loud. Yep, so now Vasha has a desire for the orchard, and also does not desire to do that thing.
Rick looks really displeased.
That's I'm sorry. I immediately distracted. Myth, that's fucking precious. Sorry, immediately distracted. So
Oh,
Tara, does Vasha now have your desire, whichever one you gave up?
Hmm. Tara's gonna scoot like over to Vasha now that her eyes aren't glowing and was like, "Hey, what are your feelings about Apple?
what do you think about what now? Sorry.
Apples.
Their eyes light up, and they kind of like mimic digging in the ground.
That's fucking precious." Oh, looks like I took upon a eldritch hunger, and now she's more baby. So we'll see how that turns out for the rest of us.
Well, I mean, what?
You know,
Sad to get
there
abandoned
there's
this year.
listen. I'm just taking really good care of my pet. You get a regular pet. Their needs are, do they have enough food and enrichment? Now, the same thing is true for magical familiars, is you need to make sure that they have enough enrichment, but also sometimes you just have to trade a deep and insatiable hunger and lust for power with your familiar.
Look,
No,
yeah, no,
that's
look,
not how this
I
goes.
why not?
You just traded a fundamental piece of who you are.
I mean, that is how having a familiar is, but it isn't
Yes,
something to take
but
lightly.
I mean, but at the same time, you work with the Fae. That's how they operate just as well. They trade pieces of themselves all the time.
And also, hang on,
no.
she didn't. she didn't give up a part of herself. She traded it with a creature that's also a part of her.
Yeah. So I mean, my desires are still going to remain with my familiar here. It's just
Yeah.
that we're both sharing them now,
I mean, I guess
even
you can
though
always
they're
get it
strange and very
back.
horrible.
There's so much more problems to what you're saying than you know. And for the record, no, that's not how I operate. I don't get to have real bonds.
What?
You don't have bonds?
How
I
do you
have
bond?
bonds, but they're fake to keep me alive because I was already turned into a monster as a child.
Fake
So
bonds.
I'm not particularly fond of people being taking that lightly, especially my friends.
Tara's expression sobers a little bit. Okay. I'm picking up what you're putting down.
And
If I can ask
also,
something. Hmm.
I have a number of concerns about this new desire of yours, but I doubt you're going to have any answers.
Probably not. I have had my brain turned into putty momentarily.
Mm-hmm.
I was curious for science, and I am already reaping the consequences of my actions.
Yep.
Do you know if you
I-
have like real? Tara has a question for Rith back in a second. Go for it. What's up?
Out of character, it's Reeth that's upset, not the real me.
Oh, yeah. It's always a good shout. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Just a reminder, I do roleplay. I do attempt to roleplay emotion sometimes.
With like what Rith was saying before, though, and what she kind of got latched onto. Do you know if you have you ever tried to build bonds? Not false ones?
Maybe. It's hard to say because I don't know what a real existence is per se, and how much of what I experience is real versus what is just magic. I've always felt that what I've had has been a little less important to me than it is for other people. Even all the bonds I forged growing up, all the connections I made, and probably why I was actually able to trade those away when I became an adult. But I don't know what you do, what a real existence is, because at the end of the day, I'm just whatever it is I am, held together to look like a normal human by magic.
I mean, doesn't really matter what you are. You can still have a connection. I mean, if you weren't such a dick, I'm sorry. That was nope. He like puts his hands up. It's like, nope, sorry, that was rude.
Ah, look at that brutal bond right there. Fucking precious.
It doesn't matter
Reeth's,
what you.
Now,
I'm
kid.
sorry.
Reeth's chest bursts open into a giant maw full of teeth and says, and the maw says, "It's very nice of you to think of me as a normal person."
I didn't say you were normal. Have you met us? Have you spent
Yes.
any time on the Martyr of Starlight with us?
I spend a
You
lot of
would
time in
know-
your head.
Exactly. Exactly. None of us are fucking normal here.
You're more normal than you
If-
think.
Look, if anyone's gonna get you, it's gonna be us.
Yes, I am painfully aware of that fact.
Okay.
Both in the physical understanding me sense and also in the murdering me sense, unfortunately.
That's
make more
not what I
coffee.
meant. The only one who's going to murder you is her, and he points at Orion.
Hey, I never tried to do that, okay?
Yet.
Okay, that's fair, but also I haven't tried.
Yet.
No. The only person
Uh-huh.
who tried to murder was you, and that was only technically.
What?
Oh,
I don't
right,
remember
don't remember that.
What?
Don't
Yeah,
listen.
Ryan, this is where I say you are more normal than you think. Fire Fist.
Yeah.
If it becomes necessary to kill me to achieve the peace that you seek, would you do it?
I mean, nothing personal, but yeah, if I had to.
Exactly.
I feel like that goes for the other way around, though.
Yes.
Exactly.
That's why I'm
Yeah.
saying Soul is more normal than he knows.
But
Sips his coffee.
Through which mouth?
One of them.
Both of them. He actually the maw like extends its jaw and he pours it into the lower one. It goes back
like a
it
large
goes back
fucking
in.
siphon, just a really long snoot. Just
Actually, he's pouring it through a mouth in his hat right now.
I mean,
I need to draw this.
I am.
Why are we focusing on me right now? It's making me uncomfortable. Tara just traded one of her bonds with another creature and just ended up with an Eldritch Hunter.
I mean, to be fair,
that's the fun part. Uno reverse card. Fucking deal with it.
to be fair,
see,
when
that's
we
kinda-
met, we watched that guy like Orion like points toward Firefist, rip off a hat that he didn't like and trade like 2/3 of himself just so he didn't have to
Yeah.
wear a hat.
You
It
did
was
what?
immediate. Yeah, it was a cowboy. It was a cowboy hat, right?
It was
Firefist?
it was a nice hat.
Firefist.
We don't
really
talk
nice
about it.
Firefist. Explain the hat.
It was a
Yeah, tell
nice
about the
hat.
It was a really
It's
nice hat.
a bogus ass hat.
It was a nice hat.
It was a nice-
You see
it
her
was a
like
nice hat.
throwing her hands up, kind of like Mae Borowski does. Like, it was a nice hat.
And you know what? You go back to fucking Hearthstone, you find it, and you can put the damn
No,
thing
I
on.
can't because you burned it.
You burned
No,
the
you can
hat.
find what's left of it.
It's ashes. It probably blew off into the... Either way, tell him about the hat.
Fine. I started this whole bullshit. I had a familiar that I really did was fond of. And it decided to tell me on our first outing together it needed me to commit arson. Needless to say, we just got to the field. We didn't commit arson. So it ran its little ass to the queen and ratted me out. And so the punishment is she sent a fucking hat. Out of all things, I can't stand fucking hats. Sent a fucking hat and said, if this hat ever comes off your head, voluntary or not, then take 10 corruption.
Ken,
And it lasted maybe 45 seconds before someone cracked a joke and I had enough. And I told the damn thing off and I don't regret it. I'd fucking do it again.
It just shakes his head and makes more coffee.
You see why I want to kill the queens?
Well, I thought it was for genuine political reasons, not.
It is genuine for political reasons, but you have to think of something. They put me and took over half my humanity for a fucking hat over a creature's desire for me to kill people and commit arson.
you know, and the funny thing is, it did eventually get what it wanted. It just had to be patient. You do commit arson all the time.
I think at least
It's,
once.
excuse me, it's targeted arson, thank you.
Well, I'm sorry.
But yes, you're not wrong. It finally got what it wanted in the end. So if I ever see the little shit again, I swear to God, I'll burn it alive.
Yeah.
That would also be arson.
Yeah, no, that would be murder, but still.
Well, arson then murder. It's both crimes.
If I find it in its own home and I burn down its home, well, then it's arson and murder. Otherwise, it's just funny.
It's fine.
But regardless, semantics. That's
Yeah,
my
yeah,
whole
yeah.
point. My whole point is the most bullshit, asinine things you can possibly think of that royalty think is a game. To them, that was a game. It was nothing more than a game to watch people suffer and die, whether it was by my hand or me suffering because it didn't cause others to suffer.
To be fair, I don't think she controlled what the familiar asked for. I think that's just what it does.
I'm pretty sure the Queen would have the ability to go, you know what, that's kind of a bullshit one. That one's on you, familiar.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
definitely.
still
That is definitely something a queen could have done. Yes.
Yeah, so they have discretion. They decided not to use it. And on top of that, they decided to double down and be cruel.
Sure.
Hey, Tara.
What?
Reef pops out a book, flips it to a page, and then shows it to you. How does this make you feel? And you look, and it's an image of a Fey Queen.
What information? I'm out of character. What are you looking for here? But also, what do they
looking-
look like?
I'm looking to figure out what kind of what your if your hunger reacts to it.
Oh shit. Do I know this person?
No.
Would you give me a roll, please,
Huh.
Tara? Just for
Okay.
funsies.
For funsies?
Yeah.
You bet. 4. Oh, 19. Never
19.
mind.
You are salivating.
Damn. Really?
Writh sighs.
Okay. I
And
didn't know that this was a thing.
Writh sighs and puts the book away. I was afraid of that.
So wait, Reed, what that
I
just
don't-
prove? What,
Well, have you
I
not
don't
been,
even know how that's connected.
have you not noticed how Vasha reacts around Faye so far?
no, you're the only Fae we know.
We did encounter a Faye messenger before.
I didn't see Vasha during that. I'm sorry.
Well, Vasha seems to hate their guts. He boops Vasha's nose.
They react
So when
much
she's-
more warmly to you than before.
So Tara probably just inherited something to do with that. And given that she now has a hunger to consume the energy of the wastes, I need to remind you the wastes are the home of the Fae. So do the math.
Hi, it's me. I'm the problem. It's me.
Oh, here, I got the perfect thing. Hold on.
Mean time. I'ma eat a fake queen.
Vath, I think she always liked Wreath, but she doesn't necessarily like Wreath's people. And that's kind of a problem. That's kind of a problem you might have just passed on.
Oh. Uh-oh.
Well.
Well, that's going to be another one to deal with.
Tara looks proper sheepish now. It's just like, I don't quite like this part of it. I'm sorry.
That's why you need to be careful trading parts of your soul to people.
You know, come to think of it, that does
Understood.
kind of make sense. I don't think I've ever been able to really connect with Vasha. I don't typically have a problem with familiars that I know of.
Oh. That makes a lot of sense now.
Oh, even Vath and Chad is reconsidering the consequences of her actions.
That's funny.
This is fucking hilarious to me. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh no,
Out
we
of
made a
character.
bargain
This
in a
shit's
system
hilarious.
about bargains. Oh.
Exactly. No, I am here to fuck around and find out, okay?
Looking around and finding out.
Okay, so, anyway, things have happened. It's fine.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's weird for me to be the voice of reason, but I have actually been curious, Alice, about your ship.
What about it?
Why did you bring it here?
Well, as far as I know, this ship isn't really equipped for traveling into the void. I've heard you guys talk a little bit about what you do have, and it sounds less than ideal. And the ship that I brought back has some actually quite suitable equipment to do that. I was hoping maybe we could salvage it and maybe do some upgrades on this one.
Oh,
Well, what kind of upgrades?
Well, the other ship is equipped to travel into the void and then to other worlds. That was literally the reason for it being built in the first place. I don't know that we have a need for that currently, but it would be a shame to let those parts go to waste. That ship is not going anywhere after the damage it's suffered. We might as
Alice, you
well
smashed
repurpose
into
some of
the
its
ground.
parts.
You smashed into the ground doing like 75 knots.
I did the best. You tried to bring an entire freaking ship from another dimension. That's
I
kind of
did.
difficult to control.
I did. Twice.
Yeah, and you have an AI to help you do it. I don't. I did it with she
I-
just like kind of wiggles her hands
I-
with magic and stuff.
And you're being chased by my mom. I know. I am messing with you. I'm on board. Let's do this. Let's go. I will get some tools and we can go see what there is to salvage. How's that sound?
Yeah, sounds good to me.
All right, cool. He's gonna get a tool bag and some tools out of his workshop.
Well, I wouldn't mind taking a poke around and seeing what they do. I mean, I don't know much about your world, but I do know a lot about
Don't,
anima here, and I would like to know more.
as long as you don't stab anything with the screwdriver.
It's not a screwdriver, but I will not
I
stab.
don't.
You have my humble promise. She like raises her hands and surrenders. Like, you have my humble promise. I will not stab anything without your explicit consent. You come back to like Solstice, you come back to like Alice pointing at me as if she's about to fucking kill me with her bare hands and me surrendering. I will not stab anything without your explicit consent.
Hey,
Well-
Ryan, do a roll for me.
Yeah, you got it.
As Reese is doing whatever rogue shit he's doing.
I got 11.
Well,
Alright.
Alice and Ryan, did you guys ever do your thing that you agreed on back at the
Reese pickpockets your screwdriver.
I don't
Oh,
have a
damn.
screwdriver.
Or whatever the hell your thingy is.
You took the fucking Arcanist tool? What the fuck?
Well, Alice, don't forget, you did agree to let her interface with you.
What?
Huh?
Yeah, back at the Arisu camp.
We agreed
Did
to
you
work
guys-
on the project together at some point. That's
No, the words you said was interface.
out of character. I have literally no idea what you're referring to.
Did that happen?
I yes, it's in the notes. I was just rereading back those ones. I can forward you them later.
Well, she might need them now.
Oh, okay,
yeah,
hang on,
I
sorry.
have no idea what
hang
you're
on,
talking about.
Sorry.
Yeah, she doesn't know what you're talking about.
Hang on. That was Pie Festival, or was that Deep? Hang on, one sec.
It was probably Pie Festival.
Let me find the word interface. Here it is. Orion is doing something dangerous. Alice interrogates, and the gun that Orion found is now several stabs. She's been trying to fuck with it. As Orion realizes it's not a magic gun, Alice rips the pistol out of her hand. She then tells her to just be normal. Alice and Orion might interface with a bit of stabbing, handshake to seal the deal.
They kissed.
No, that's not happening. Sadly.
What does that even mean?
I don't know. That's what the notes said.
I think what it was is I was offering to help
Sorry.
you or something, but I wanted to try and see what I think I do remember where Orion doesn't understand how your magic works and wanted to like use the Stevie Pokey thing to study your magic.
Right. Yeah, that's not happening.
I took a screenshot of that. Give me a screenshot.
Oh, we believe you. It's in the notes. We just don't know what it means.
No, I was just saying the chunk to the. God, I wish. Hey Google, take Gemini out and give me dark mode, you pricks. Anyways, either way, sorry, bad jokes aside.
Also, okay, so with a little bit of that, I see that. Yes, that is what that means. Well, we'll worry about that later. We'll worry about the consequences of that later.
Well, do you guys want to head out, or before we get distracted with that. When's the competition? Isn't that soon too?
It's in about a week's time.
Oh. Oh, okay. I thought we had that urgently. Okay. Well, you guys want to come too? General consensus of the room. You guys want to come check out Alice's weird void ship?
Sure.
You know, it occurs to
Breakfast?
me, didn't we have that little kobold set up a shield? I wonder how long he's been holding that for.
I think since we asked him to.
How long has that been? It's been like a week, yeah?
It's been about a week.
He's been holding up a
I think
spell
it's-
for like a week.
I think it's been 2
Yeah.
days.
It has been 2 days?
Yeah. Because we did the session before last, and the last session was in his mind. It's just been a long time in real life because we were busy.
Oh,
Can we go help them out then?
Yes.
yeah, we probably
we can.
should. I don't know if he's gonna be okay if he's been sustaining a spell for 2 days straight.
I don't know
the
how
thing
that kid's not
exploded,
had.
so
Well, let's go.
Oh yeah, it has only been two days, huh? Because that was in the Arbiter episode. Yeah, how about that?
When they flash by, Reef flashes to Alice that he stole the tool.
she just grins at you and acts like nothing happened.
Yeah.
Nice.
Are you guys coming?
Yeah. Drag me. I'm drawing.
Kickflip. Okay.
Hell yeah.
I'm so excited. I made a bunch of fucking maps for this. I'm so excited.
Yippee!
There we go. Let's see. You see a strange,
Whoa.
bulbous, and damaged structure. The machinery attached to the sides are extremely futuristic. It most closely resembles the tech in the deep, though far enough from your understanding to impair your appraisal. From what you can tell, or what you can tell, is that What you can tell is that prior to the disasters that fell upon the ship, the softly pearlescent plates were machined with intense care and precision. Machinery is no exception to this either, and you can tell that the multitude of hydraulics were designed with little tolerance for error. Either the creators were paranoid about the energy they were tapping into, or they were intent about using the ship as a scalpel. It will be very difficult to maintain this equipment should it ever be damaged, though for now it seems to be in mostly working order. It will be wise over to give it a once over to be sure.
Apparently, your bleed is so loud it jump scared Vath.
The bleat is so loud.
The bleed command.
Okay, I'll turn it down.
Did the kobolds say anything, or
So the little let's see. Where is Kiwi? Kiwi. I have Kiwi.
He's really
Kiwi.
tiny.
Kiwi. You see Kiwi, like the second that he sees you guys like arrive at this like huge fucking ship. Think of Railjack from Warframe. He You see a little toothy smile form across his face, and then he just goes, and just collapses in the sand. And the spell goes
Oh
down.
fuck. Oh shit. Oh god. Oh no. All right.
He needs some milk.
Is he alive?
He is definitely alive. He's okay.
Oh, he's
Oh, thank
he's,
God.
he's still sleepy.
Yeah, he's breathing.
All right.
Let's see.
Hey, Firefist.
Yeah.
Do you want to carry your biggest fan here so he's not sleeping on the cold hard ground?
Yeah, we'll put him someplace safe.
Yeah, which from this little barbecue, after seeing the spell go down, you're approached by kind of meant to have a starter there, that's fine. You see Brick. I don't know where the actual one for Brick is, so fuck it. We're using this as Brick. This is Brick now. Brick. Kind of walk in. Oh! I'm sorry, I don't remember the voice you gave for the mythics.
Oh, they're just general old
Okay.
dude.
He's
Oh,
been located.
what?
Whatever's easiest on your
That was
throat.
Brick.
It's like they've been around for a hot
Oh,
minute.
Yeah. So Brick. Sorry, I just had to
Yeah?
shrinkerize them. Kind of like walks in as you're picking them up. Like, oh, yeah. He's been holding it up for the whole time. They wouldn't stop. It even rained. We've been making sure to feed him some barbecue every now and then.
Excellent. Good job taking care of them.
Yeah, he'll be fine after some rest. Don't worry. We're resistant to corruption.
Oh, thank goodness. What brings us to you today?
Well, I wanted to check and make sure the kiwi was still good. And when I saw the spell go down, I figured he would collapse. So I wanted to make sure that there was at least someone to check up on him.
Oh yeah, no,
Well-
he saw us and smiled and realized he could relax. So
That makes a lot of sense. Well, I'm gonna return to the barbecue.
Mhm.
see you, Brick.
You know,
We'll
it's
we'll go and bring the little kiwi to get a rest in.
I can carry them if you want.
Yeah, by all means, fire for slaying him over.
Very nice.
Gonna just imagine kiwis on Brick. I'm not gonna weld them together because it'd be annoying to remove them. That's why I never move Vash anymore because I don't. It's there. Oh, Alice, why are you You know what? It's fine. It's like, yeah. It's funny. They designed kobolds to eat corruption initially. It's fun they failed.
Wait, what? Wait, what? Why do they fuck? Why do people do that? They say something that's like mind shattering and just fuck off.
Maybe you should have asked questions while they were here.
I tried to. He walked away too quick.
I missed something. What happened to Kiwi?
So Kiwi passed out
collapsed.
when we. Can you stop yelling at me? They... Sorry, I'm not schizophrenic. The
Allegedly.
my therapist says so. Uh, so my fuck, god damn it.
Are they a psychiatrist?
My psychiatrist also says so.
Oh, okay.
It's the fucking chat is all its firm meow.
Oh, okay.
So fucking what was I saying? Oh yeah, Kiwi passed out when they realized they could stop holding the spell. You see that their like arms are glowing a little purple, but it's like quickly burning off. It's as if their body is metabolizing the corruption inside of them. The Brick had said in passing as they were taking Kiwi away, that kobolds were initially designed to try. They were an attempt to design a creature to be able to eat corruption, and then noted that they failed.
I am going to not pass that information to the fake queens.
Yeah, that'd probably be wise.
Okay.
It's,
Shit.
okay. Yeah, it's Hey, Alice. What is Alice just actually just floating around, or is she?
She just
Alice? Is Alice just
What?
hovering upside down?
There you go.
Do you want to head inside? I mean, it is your
Ye-
ship, so okay. All right. So, give us a tour.
Wow.
It's your ship.
I'm gonna need some help from our
Yep.
ever so gracious
Yep.
DM because you designed this, not me.
Yep. So, similar to when you first found this in the void, there was a bunch of ripped off pieces where your lovely dovely mother did that. So there's like the cockpit, which has like it's kind of got like a pod that you can like jump into, and it's got a bunch of
She said,
things.
"Cock."
That
And there's a cock there, but it looks broken.
Oh
The
man,
vault.
not again.
Yeah, after the landing, the control system is unfortunately a bit damaged. But it's basically something you jump into. It connects to your body, and you are able to control the ship as if it is an extension of yourself, as if it is you. It's very very fancy. There are some low control monitors every now and then. There's just a on the sides for regulation, making sure everything's all good. There's a little platform here that looks like it's maybe for like weapons or something. If you had to guess, there are like kind of external systems and etc. control over here. And then there's a bit of more granular control for the machines around the ship that is kind of over in this area. It wouldn't be a bad idea to oh yeah, there's also the your office is over here, which I did not make because I made the ship too goddamn big. And this map too small. Don't worry about it. I definitely planned that. And then there's the I really yeah, this is cool. And there's a bunch of refuse that's still all in the crew quarters. So that will need to be cleared out before you can progress further down. However,
Alice, sorry.
but
No, well,
Go ahead.
Alice, what do you want us to prioritize here?
I don't know. I don't remember how this works. She pulls out a book from under her cloak. This is the well, this is something I wrote during the expedition, and it has notes on how this works. She pulls out another book. Then I have the uh, pilot's notes. So I guess we've got some reading to do to figure out what we can cobble together and uh, learn how this works.
All
Yeah.
right, can I take a look at one of those?
She hands you over the pilot's journal.
Cool. I will go into the cockpit. I'll give this a read and see if I can put two and two together and make 6. Kidding. 4.
Uh,
He walks away.
yeah. If you guys would like to give me, because you're both doing this together and because both of you are predisposed to this task, I will let you both take a turn rolling die, and we will take whichever value is lower. Okay, I guess we're going with a
I got
10.
10.
See, is that supposed to be ticking? One of the couples on the outside is making a strange ticking noise that you're not so sure about. There seems to be something else wrong, but you're it's hard to make heads or tails of what the fuck the manual's talking about.
You're
You cut
cutting
out.
out, would you say?
You cut out a little bit.
What the fuck? Um, basically, one of these it calls these energy couples. I'm sorry, I don't have any fancier name for that, but and there one of them is just ticking. It's making like a constant readjustment, and it just won't stop. And you're not sure if it's supposed to be doing that or if it's not supposed to be doing that. You can't make heads or tails of the notes on the engine. It's really hard to make sense of the like it would be clear and easy to understand for someone who knew what the fuck they were talking about. Unfortunately, you don't, so it's quite difficult to
I'm
understand.
I'm gonna try and wake up this terminal here and see if there's any like errors on it.
Yeah, sure. Give me give me a stroll. Okay.
Oh, that got moved by the table. That
We
was gonna be a
accept
second.
those
Hang
here.
on. No.
Yes. What's
Um,
I'll,
Alice walks over. You having trouble with this?
yeah, it fucking. I'm trying to figure out. This terminal's weird. It's not like mine, but I figured that if it's a terminal anything like what I got, it would have an error on what's up with the machine outside. But I don't know. It doesn't. I guess we don't have access, whatever.
Well, I mean, this is my ship. Let me give it a shot. Wow.
Yeah, you
Jesus
just keep
Christ.
like clicking and hitting the like enter key, and it just like you just hear bonk, bonk, bonk. User locked out.
Oh, that's not good. Well,
I got nothing.
Did you collect anything from other members of the crew?
Nothing
Or know
that
what
would
they?
help us with this.
So, an
oh,
idea. We might not know what we're doing, but we might be able to find someone who can fill the gaps of our knowledge. I mean, we don't know. This looks pretty similar to what we found the deep, but maybe a bit better. We
I
might
mean,
be
if
able
we want to, we could definitely get the Orisu involved if Alice is comfortable with
yeah.
that.
Or we could find someone else who's knowledgeable and maybe someone else knows about the void.
what
Maybe.
else would?
Hmm.
Who else?
We can't
Is
be
there,
the
is there anyone
only
else that
people who
knows?
know about it.
There's no way. There's
It
no
would.
way.
It would definitely be nice to not owe anything to the Arisu if they were to help us. I would definitely
Yeah.
prefer to look for someone who might be able to help with this.
I did hear I did hear that there's apparently one of the other participants in the tournament is supposed to be some kind of professor. I heard people arguing and chatting about it when we were listening to the when we were watching Solstice vaporize a guy's legs.
What? Oh, right.
Yeah, in between laughing fits, I heard that. So you can always try searching
Yeah,
him.
I'm sorry.
Well,
What did you hear? One more time. I do apologize. I didn't quite catch that.
Apparently, one of the other participants for the tournament is some kind of professor. He came in rags and apparently has some weird thing on his back, but I don't know.
Oh, cool.
We could always get in, tell him nothing else.
well, I guess it's worth an ask.
They call him some kind of expert on magic. So I don't know how
It
much
wasn't.
that's true. I don't know about you, but I've met a few experts of magic in my past, and I haven't been impressed. But who knows?
It wasn't anyone we pissed off at. Well, it's determined, right?
I don't know. There's no telling. I mean, to be fair, you didn't kill a guy. I did. So if anything, they're gonna be mad at me.
Well,
I mean,
mean,
you
you
did
did, but you
brutally
also.
disable a guy for life. But I think
Well, yeah, and then he the other guy also did try to kill you. 'Cause he's an anima, so he was already fair game. And then there was the one guy who did want to kill me, but then Reith stepped in and had his say with that one.
oh yeah,
So
It worked.
yeah, no, I can't say you're wrong. I really can't say you're wrong,
Orion
especially
just
because
like
of the
shrugs,
advances we
like
have made.
it did work.
Yeah, no, I cannot disagree with either of you. Either way, uh, uh, do you have any way to contact this guy, Orion?
I mean, I think it'd probably be easiest if we set up some kind of. Actually, come to think of it, We have the kobolds. If anyone can, like,
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Every other time you say kobold, I think you're saying cobalt.
Yeah.
Like
We have the tool
I mean-
brand,
green Chevy
Cobalt.
car.
If there's
You
anything
do-
that
No,
I
I'm
know about
using-
the reliable power of Cobalt tools, which I'm not sponsored by.
You do
Well, I-
you do know the element cobalt is named after the mythological creature kobolds, right?
Yeah, well, no, that's not what I'm hearing. I'm hearing this. The cobalt, as in the Chevy Cobalt. Because
Oh,
I'm a
right. You're a
freaking
car guy.
maniac.
God damn it. No, not Cobalt. Not Cobalt with a K.
No,
not
I know.
Cobalt
We
with a
actually-
K, the fucking other thing. Not
Tool
Cobalt
brand,
with a
yes,
C,
no,
the vehicle. Not Cobalt. Not Cobalt. Kobolds. We have the kobolds. If there's anyone who's able to be particularly annoying, it's them.
Well, we don't need anyone to be annoying. We just need someone who's good at finding someone with no hesitation.
We do
Yeah,
have an
okay,
airship.
being annoying, I get it. Well, yeah, but it's then we have to land it and pick them up and then bring it back here. Just your idea of Estes is just easier, isn't it?
I don't know. I don't know.
Just
Have
ask-
Firefist.
Aren't they?
Have Firefist nicely ask. I'm sure they'd bend over backwards to find him.
I'm gonna put my head out the window. Is there a window here? No, it's all
There's
walls.
a broken wall that's got a few cracks
There
in
is.
it. Yeah, there's like a big like fucking tear in the wall.
Hey, Firefist,
Yeah, what should I?
can you ask your cult following to find a guy who calls himself the Professor of Magic? He's
Professor
an old
of
guy.
Magic?
Yeah, he's an old dude. Orion, can you can describe him?
They said he has a really giant thing on his back, and he's apparently one of the participants for the tournament.
Yeah, giant thing on his back was a participant for the tournament, so that's probably somewhere to start. But can you ask your cult to locate him for us?
Yeah, I'll go talk to them, see if they say. So he'll walk
Thank you.
off to go do that.
Wait, Terry, can you go with him to make sure that they don't eat him alive?
I mean, I'll go along to watch.
As you're like
No, wait.
walking like after him, you just see like a swarm of kobolds. Just you hear like the unison slap of their head of them saluting him. Just the
Yeah.
of them all like diligently saluting, and then you just see
I
them
fucking love these
swarm
little
around
guys.
him like a cloud.
I don't have to walk to this place. You probably just cross if I wanted to.
You hear
Don't
one
you want
of
to be
them
a
go,
cult leader?
huh?
Don't you want to be a cult leader?
Fuck funny.
You hear one of them go, "You're in luck. He came to Cobalt territory recently. We'll have him here shortly."
Perfect. So, come let us know when you find him. We'll be right over here by this broken down ship.
Sure. Sure, we'll bring him over.
Much appreciated.
You just see like the feral fan who's talking to you, just like they claw into the dirt and just like start fucking hauling ass in the direction of like a bunch of other kobolds.
On a fucking mission.
I said he was
We let it-
nearby, so should have him shortly. They're gonna bring him to us.
But that
Cool.
was easy.
Thanks for everything. I feel like we just unleashed a plague on him. Like, we kind of did this in a small army. Go
We
look.
kind of,
Ooh.
I mean, you did.
I mean, it's fine. They're not gonna hurt him, I would imagine. If I'm asking to have him brought here, I don't think they're gonna cause any problems. So.
I mean, if they're a wizard,
Dude. How strong
And-
is Kobold pack mentality?
Kind of
Well,
strong.
kind of strong else considering that they're working for their fucking god, essentially.
So she looks off in the direction and she realizes that I want to roll to see if more kobolds are joining this kobold katamari damancy. All right.
Uh-oh.
If we roll low, the other kobolds keep their wrinkles in their brains. Otherwise, they're going to join the crowd. Oh, what do we get out of 10? Slap in the middle.
So like you see like some of them are still enjoying their barbecue because they're kind of like they're too enraptured in the feast that's happening somewhere over like here, I guess, relative to us.
Yeah.
They're just like shoveling their face in their bowls. They probably didn't hear over the schmacking. And
Yep.
gnawing. And then like there's just a sea of kobolds that have like there's a hit squad of kobolds that have just gone. This man is being found. He's being found today, and he's being mail ordered to you with Prime delivery. There is there
Prime same hour delivery.
yeah.
Fire Fist primal spell. Primal delivery.
I guess I did
Oh my god.
kind of imply that, Boxer, but no, no. Chad is not another voice in Orion's head. She's just special like that. Chad, can we get another goal?
Oh my fucking god!
Tommy, I'm suddenly getting permissions of an alter ego in a mech suit.
Yeah,
but, right.
Luna like
Yeah.
when you ask about like the cobalt pack mentality, Luna kind of raises a finger to her head or to her mouth and thinks for a moment. She's like, "Well, the last time I heard someone mention cobalt pack mentality, a lot of places seem to describe them as sort of like a hive mind. They're surprisingly effective when together. It's what's made them so proficient at being here. The revolution was unstoppable. The second they got even a single foothold, it was over."
God
I mean,
damn.
they're tiny. They could probably just squeeze through walls and defenses and just rip them out from the inside. I wouldn't want to fight a kobold. This is kind of scary now I think about it.
No, they take your kneecaps real quick. They might be smaller, but they're feisty.
They were also built to be workers, so they are very hardy. You probably aren't going to have much, well, I mean, a wizard might have better luck fighting them, but I certainly wouldn't be able to take one in a fight.
That's true.
Well,
To be fair, considering that it is Sinner's dragons, usually stick so close to dragons, especially like elder dragons, it's kind of a thing of they need to be terrible because one accidental bump of the tail from an elder dragon could see kobold flying 40 feet.
Well, and also, I mean, Luna, you don't have to worry about that because the kobolds love Fire Fist, and Fire Fist is and you guys are on the same party, so therefore the kobolds love you too.
Right, but
he
what
was
I
like
mean,
finger guns.
right, but what I mean is that yes, they're very. He's not going to find himself with one or two kobolds. He's going to find himself with half the city, probably.
Oh yeah, no, that's a
You
yeah.
sent a deluge upon him.
Yeah, no, I realized that a little too late after I asked Firefist to do that. I basically just asked Firefist to go ask his army to bring one man to us.
Of which, as we're having this conversation, you hear distant screaming, like just wailing.
I think they found him. I think they found him.
Slowly getting closer.
Think about it, it's more of like a raw summons.
What do you want? What did I do? I'm sorry. Did I not pay the taxes? Did I not stop? Did I not provide my ID? Did I not? What did I do?
We hear this screaming getting closer.
You just hear it getting steadily closer. Like, what did I do? Can I help you? Is it because I didn't drink the cobalt juice?
You're gonna be okay.
Is it because
you're gonna be fine?
And they just get like thrown out onto the dirt, and you just hear like in the sand, and then the thing on their back like flops. It's in a bag. But the bag like hits the ground and just sticks in the ground. It's a circular shape, whatever it is, but it's definitely
Hi,
heavy.
hi, Professor.
Oh, oh my.
Soul just waves. Hi,
Oh.
Professor.
Hi, you don't think you could have just sent a letter?
uh,
Pardon our
I
friend.
mean, this was infinitely more effective.
yeah, I mean, letter would have taken weeks. We found you within. First, how long did it take? 5 minutes? Three?
Well, 13, 14 minutes at most.
Yeah, see, it's the part of they love him, and I.
I can tell. I was
You're
looking at one of the
you're
gift
pretty.
shops.
Yeah, well, we could. Yeah. Anyways, we need your help.
I can tell, given that you're in the middle of a fucking wall.
Oh yeah, hang on.
You can see him like
he walks up.
you can see him like oh with the legs as he like just shoves like as he lifts this massive fucking circular thing back onto his back.
Do you want some help with that?
No, thank you. I am quite fine.
All right. Well, all right, don't say that. Ask help. Anyways, yeah. Sorry about the wall thing. Alice, Orion, you guys should probably be out here too.
Oh yeah, Alice just warps. She just Enderman just
Yeah.
appears in front of him.
She-
Oh, Jesus, fuck, wizards.
Alice
Sorry.
looks at him with
Hi.
like struggling to lift the pack, and she just like grabs one of the straps and holds it. Like, this is just easier.
No,
Don't
it's
strain
quite.
yourself.
No, please. I need to make sure that that stays in exclusively my hands. It's very important. Very important. And he like looks you like in the eye with extreme sincerity and is like, it is very important that it does not leave my sight.
And a
All right,
bomb.
Soul side eyes to Wreath. It gives
And
Wreath a look about this.
he just like grabs the thing and just pulls it closer to him and slowly rests it over his back. Like, okay,
Okay.
Is that a bomb?
it is not a it is not a bomb.
Oh, seems mighty bomb shaped. Anyways, bombs or not, bomb you can bomb away later. Don't bomb here.
bomb,
But then we
bomb
will have to kill
away.
you. Bomb, bomb,
I think
bomb,
we're
bomb,
getting
bomb,
off on the
bomb.
wrong foot. Apologies for all this.
Did
We
you like your
were-
escort? Did you have fun on the Cobalt Wave?
I would have had more fun if I knew the reason, but they don't really explain. They just said that, quote unquote, Fire Fist, as, Fire Fist ass, and then they grabbed me by the ankle, no less, threw me into a mob, and then I rode here. I'm not entirely certain how they cover so much ground so fast, but I suppose it's effective.
There was
That's
about
probably
100
a
of
new
them.
record for the longest crowd surfing ever.
Yeah, there was about 100 of them. Like I said, it was an army. They love him, and he just points over at Fire Fist.
The second that I
They
got
love him.
grabbed, I did not see the ground until I was here.
I mean, hey, you got to take a break. Your feet were probably very tired.
To say, it sounds like a free crowd surfing trip to me, and they seem to
Yeah.
be very, very diligent with you. So, I mean, imagine what would happen if I told them to kill you.
We
Damn.
wouldn't find your body.
Oh my God!
No, I think it's quite the opposite. I don't think we'd ever stop finding the body.
Oh, fair
I
point. Fair
Jesus
point.
Christ.
very
Either way,
aware of the.
that's fair. No, sorry, we're off on the wrong foot. Anyways, sorry. We're just a little. Anyways, hi. My name is Solstice. This is a ship that belongs to my friend Alice here. We need your help trying to figure out what the fuck is making that clicking noise and how do we make it stop.
Oh, uh, sure.
Or any help you can provide about this ship.
That's that too.
Okay,
But
well,
first part, but the first part's the ticking noise 'cause it's kind of annoying.
I should preface that my studies are in ancient magic, though I am knowledgeable at least a little bit in what some of the Orisu have showed me. I might be able to figure a thing out or two. We don't really
Well,
have this in.
do you know anything about the void?
Oh, Yes, I do actually.
Well, this
Yeah.
was made to explore exactly that. It allows you to jump
You
between
you see that
a
he like
world into the
coughs and is
void.
like, I'm sorry. They made a they made a I'm sorry. They made a portable bell.
Um, what?
She hands
Evidently,
over
they tried.
her notes. So funny story. This is mine, but I don't. Memories have been a bit difficult to reach.
Wizard,
This
got
book
it.
knows more than I do.
Yeah, that tracks for a wizard. Um, and so he like flips through a few pages and he's like, "Oh my god, they made a portable bell. Why would you do that? That is
Uh,
remarkably
Professor, what's the portable bell?
well. It's it's the, for some reason we're not sure why. Every time someone tries to enter the void, they get tempted by it. They get tempted by something. We don't know what it is. This just seems to be from the few notes I've been able to find. But normally, when people get into the void, it's because they've been tempted by something to go in there. The protective device that's supposed to keep them from touching it is called a bell, because it's literally shaped like a bell. Um, it's supposed to dip the person in and let them kind of be in there like a fish tank. They more often than not fail, but that's not really the point.
Did y'all use something like that when you pulled the goat out of the void?
No, we use the punch ring.
You see him like raise his hands to his like face, inhale very sharply, and just
So, Professor, just real quick, do you think the tech from this, and he points at her ship, can be fitted to that? And he points at the Martyr Starlight.
Probably.
Awesome. That one's mine. This one's hers. This one
sorry,
can't fly. Mine can.
Right. Just real
Also,
quick, just to make 100%, he's like gesturing just a little bit, just to make 100% sure. So I didn't hear you incorrectly. Did you just say the words punch ring?
yes,
And you have one.
maybe.
Great.
Yes. Real quick, just before we get too far, quick ninja mail. If you have
Yes.
like 30 seconds, because it's kind of important as to what Solstice says next.
I don't think he would know about that. No. You can try. You can try to explain it to him. He's probably going to have an interesting reaction.
Uh, do you know anything about a void being named Spark?
I've never gone into the void. I've just read books.
Anything in a book?
You wanna go? I can take you. And she starts opening her wrist.
No,
Please
no, no,
close
no, no,
that
no, no, no,
down.
no, no.
I don't want anything to do with that. I'll help you, but I'm not going.
Fair enough.
I know, and just enough to know that I don't want to know. I don't want to be in there.
Well,
I don't want to be tempted.
there's there's nothing in any of your books about a spark, a person named Spark, or a being named Spark, or
I'm very
a
sorry.
scion.
Oh, Scions, yes.
Oh, okay. Let's. What do you about scion?
Very little. It's only been mentioned in one or two scraps. Most of the old books that I've been able to find have been scant recreations. They've been more or less just retellings of retellings. We get a lot of books. Is the point? A lot of the books that have been outdated get thrown over to the place where I come from, as trash. They're very valuable out there. They're not so much over here. So when they get outdated, they become ours. Um, so, uh,
Okay.
yeah, they're very odd mages or magi. They're very odd mages, as you would, wizards. they use an energy source that's oddly similar to the void, though apparently distinct. I don't know. That's about all I know, unfortunately.
And Solok's obviously like defeated. That's all he was able to get from him. Yeah, no, that's thank you. That is definitely more than I knew. But yeah, no, let's sorry, task at hand. Yes, we want to take some tech off of this ship and make it fit to my ship, and not explode. That's pretty important. And yeah, we do have a punch ring. It is currently installed on the ship, the Martyr Starlight over there.
Okay, sure.
But yeah, if it isn't blatantly obvious, we're planning on going back to the void.
Right.
And he's like deadpan expression, pure eye contact, just we're going back to the void.
Sure.
This wasn't discussed, but okay.
I mean, why wouldn't we take the tech and not use it?
I mean, what
I don't
do
know,
we even
maybe
have
there's
to
guns
do
and
in
shit.
there?
Did we not discuss void travel? Does this not?
No.
Am I losing a conversation
No.
we all had about void? Am I losing it?
You might be losing it.
We had a conversation about this.
Respectfully,
all of us.
you might be schizophrenic.
Only on Tuesdays.
Well, today's a Sunday, so it might be. I think you're a little bit off kilter. It might be because you slept for so long.
Shit. Did we not discuss? Maybe I. Either way, I would. Well, just never mind, Professor. Can we just make it fit?
Hey yo.
Reese
Fine.
moves
Hang on.
over and
It's been a while.
Reese goes over and covers Luna's ears.
No.
Um,
Should we? You guys sure you don't want to just get the Orzu involved?
This guy knows what he's doing. I trust him.
no, I don't,
I
but
mean-
I will be able to figure it out probably. I know enough
But-
about. Go ahead, sorry.
But I mean, if we're going to be handling this much sensitive tech, having a bit of the Orzu involved would not hurt.
Oh, for certain.
Yeah, but then that's an entire faction that knows about this stuff. I would look. Let's make a deal. You get to learn about this as long as you don't talk about it with anyone.
Sure, that's a fair.
I've-
And one more thing to add to that. This, he points at his back. This, you don't talk about this. If you see what it is, you don't talk about it. You don't look for what it is. If you see me using it, you don't pay attention. If you hear it, you turn away and cover your ears. Do not talk about this. If we have a
Alice,
deal, then we have a deal.
she extends her hand for a handshake.
He like firmly grasps your hand, like, pleasure to work with you.
All right, sounds like a deal.
The name's Marks, by the way. Mark.
Reese sighs.
Reese is having a day.
Reese is
When
just
is he
like,
not?
I really was gonna spy and figure out what that freaking thing is now, but I respect our deals, so oh well.
It's
Well,
for the
that's-
best if you never find out. But the point is, it's going to help
I'm
us.
a wizard. That's 90% of the things in my brain.
What did you say?
I said I'm a wizard. That's 90% of the things in my brain.
True. And that's why, Vath, that's exactly why I made very certain to say Mark, because I know when I said Marks, someone's going to be like, Karl Marx in Wizard?
Oh my god!
I am going
well,
to quickly pop
it's
away
good.
to the bathroom. Stomach's
Yep.
acting up, but I'm fine, and I will be back in a few.
I will actually also need to
Just
be right
please
back. I do need to take my medicine very quickly.
Let's
Sounds
take
good.
5.
I'll be right back as well.
Yeah, let's take a beer. Let's take a quick BRB. I do apologize.
Go piss, kings and queens.
Hell yeah. Piss.
Shid.
Hey,
Wait. Enid. Did that
As
get
far as
nerfed?
like, nah, I heard penis.
Okay, okay, cool. Sorry.
With wanting to employ the tech for Murder of Starlight, did you and Viv get a chance to touch base on what like her getting her ship fixed up first?
So we touched base. I'm pretty certain that her ship is just totaled. I mean, the walls are missing. So the original plan was
Okay.
to take what we could take and fit it to mine, so it doesn't all go to waste. That was my understanding. at
Oh,
least.
okay.
Um, I swear we. Am I losing it? Because now I swear we talked about going back to the void. Because it was
like I mean, unless you have a note that corroborates that, fam. Like
void travel.
I
There it is.
wouldn't be surprised. Okay.
Yes. It was 2 sessions ago. It was when Alice brought it here. Alice wants to work with Sol and Orion, see these devices modified and potentially add to them MOS to make more capable for void travel. Void travel. Are we insane? Yes.
Oh yeah, nice. Good job having that in notes. It's just been a minute and it slipped mine then.
Yeah, no, I feel very that was going nuts.
Wizards
I
makes you
am
lose control. Wizards makes you lose control. Let's out! Yeah, thank you. I'm glad that we can match the energy today. Happy for us. Ooh, this makes for a pretty red. I like that. I think that they're gonna dig that.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I love the fear in her eyes, Mythix.
Thank you.
Music makes you lose control. Music makes you lose
I
control.
got your head.
Uh,
Okay. Head canon. I
mhm,
propose to you.
mhm.
Is that Tara has totally listened to the WizWoo
Okay.
and will occasionally meme out lyrics at Solstice
Yes.
as stems from like they used to do it back when they had the apartment.
Yes. Oh,
It was their main form of communication.
I feel you on that one. Yes, absolutely.
Fantastic.
Also, Vivi, you say you're
Yes.
crispy as fuck. Vivi, I'm not totally nuts. The episode when you brought the ship in, I have a blurb here where Alice wants to work with Sol and Orion to get these devices modified and potentially add to the MOS to make it more capable for void travel. Void travel. Are we insane? Yes.
Right. Okay. So it basically
We
like
just-
making it a possibility, but it doesn't sound like we discussed it beyond that.
Yeah. We just being it capable of doing it, which I guess like in my head, but I did correlate as to actually doing it. At least I'm not. At least I didn't hallucinate the conversation.
Yeah. And I was gonna check. I didn't know if you guys had discussed it. I asked him about it too. Was if what was it? If you were gonna attempt like repairs, basically yourself to bring it up to shape, or if you wanted to just mostly scrap and salvage it. The current understanding was that you wanted to just like lean what you could, but not repair it. If you were
Yeah, we're
wanting to
gonna
patch it up, though, you can.
Yeah.
we're gonna grab what's viable out of the ship and install it on the other one.
Fucking
'Cause
sick. Then okay, cool.
At the same time, it was also my understanding that the ship is kind of just cooked.
Yeah, this thing's fucked.
Yeah. Yeah. You did say that earlier, Solstice. That's fucking funny. Hey, Viv, have you got a chance to see yet?
I have, yes, this is amazing.
Fuck yeah. Good shit, but keep it down, queen.
Yeah?
Yeah? Who was that? Wait, I thought that was
Again.
you.
No, I'm pretty sure it was Strauss.
Oh,
You sound like the 340 when I cold
Okay.
started this morning.
doxycycline consumed. You have to take that medicine like every time at the same time on the dot to make it work effectively, and you also have to eat something so it doesn't make you shit your brains out. So,
Oh, good.
I had to briefly make a mayo sandwich, eat it, and then take a doxycycline pill. So I don't.
Ah, yes, of course. The perfect excuse for a mayo sandwich.
So I
Hey,
don't. So I don't both get an infection in my gum and also shit my brains out. So.
Yeah.
Oh my god, she's shitting and come. I mean, what?
Oh my god. Um.
Gonna cry, gonna piss your pants, maybe shouldn't come. EJ, no, that was definitely not ominous at all. It was actually that video was very well made, by the way. I want to mention that. I watched the video and then jumped on the bike. It was very good, very nice to watch, and your editing was fantastic.
I just saw what you're making.
Oh shit. Okay.
Oh my god. Thank you. Alright, and Reed's still very yeah, okay. How that's because I was like I failed swallowing the pill 5 times.
Understandable.
Yeah. I suck at swallowing pills, that one floats. And I can't look down to swallow floaty pills right now because then the suction would be very great, and that's bad news bears when you have a healing socket because that can rip it open. It's not likely, but it's a thing that can happen, and I'm not fucking with that shit because I've already spent so much goddamn time not eating burgers, and I'm an American, and I'm fucking deteriorating without burgers.
I hate the ones that float so much. Okay, this is I do recognize before I say that this is a very me thing, but when they're pills that float, I eat them in the back of my throat and then I drink to dislodge them. Because otherwise I can't fucking swallow them.
That's fair.
Real
Normally what I
snake shit.
do is go ahead, sorry.
Oh, I just said real snake shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah. So I normally what I do is because I have my pills I take every morning float. So what I do is I drink a bunch of water. I put them in my mouth and I look down so that they float to the top of my throat, and then I swallow it that way, and then add the next pill and do it that way. I just can't do that right
Okay.
now. So I have to add just enough water that my tongue can flick it down when I swallow. And it's
Damn, girl, what that tongue do?
flick pills like you would not believe.
Ow.
Had to fucking catapult doxycycline in the back of my throat or it's not happening. And Calvary.
I'm back.
Welcome back.
Hey, back I'm moving.
Hey, nice.
Oh,
Hey, Vivi, who'd you get pregnant?
But
oh.
Wait, huh?
She's
She told
making
her
a
dad
bad
who she
joke.
got pregnant.
What'd you say now?
I said, who did you get pregnant?
Surprise, it's you.
Did you spit out your drink, Vivi?
No.
Okay.
That was me. That was me that made that noise.
That drink.
Okay. Anyway,
Slowly approaching Reese, puts a head on his thumb. How's the baby doing? You think I felt a kick? Oh my goodness.
Orion's just like pointing the sword at herself. She's like, today might be the day.
Do it
No,
already.
Ryan, don't do it. I can stab you instead. It's fine.
No, if you're gonna die,
True
let me do it.
friends
It'll be
don't
really
let you do
funny.
it yourself.
Anyway,
I fucking love it here.
so the regained Gante who regante.
Do you are get pregunante?
What in the Yahoo Answers is that spelling?
That's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. Did I just lose my Virginia?
Oh no, her Virginia, it's gone.
If I go to Virginia, do I have to have a lover?
I mean, Virginia is for lovers, so they'll
Can I
trash now.
have sex while people put babies off of his head? Am I
Don't
forgot?
worry, you're fine, Solstice. Family for bean.
Wait, what?
I said, don't worry, you're fine. In Virginia, they only farm beans.
The
I would do the
beans.
beans, but I can't right now. I'm sorry.
Oh
It'd
no.
be very painful.
Well, hey, it's okay. Others
know
are
what?
gonna
You know
do it
what?
for you.
Just once.
Yes.
Oh my god, beans. What the fuck?
Hell yeah.
Oh my
When I do
goodness.
that, I just throw my voice as low in my diaphragm as I can, and I boost my voice's like bass as much as I can.
See, Mark, I'm gonna go the opposite direction. I'm kind of afraid if I do that, you know what's gonna fucking hear me.
Well, see, I'm normally a nasally little teenager sounding bastard, so I have to use some kind of bass in my voice. So,
Hmm. Hey, Trust, before we get started,
yeah. Did you just clear my fucking queue?
some of it, but I was expecting to be on your head again because it was before.
I haven't cleared that in months. So if you hit that
Lucky
button,
the
it's
PC
not
didn't
gonna
crack.
stop for a while.
No, I know. I only did, as I said, some of it. I only did yeet. That was all your yeet. I only did yeet.
Okay.
I knew what I was doing.
This is like giving a child access to a bomb. I'm like watching you like hold a lighter in one hand and a pipe bomb in the other.
I knew what I was doing. I noticed what I was looking at and made sure I only pressed some
No,
of it. I did
I
not press all of
appreciate
it.
that. It's fine. So
Honestly, it's not that bad. You only have 155 things to do.
oh really? Oh, okay. I thought it was way more than
Yeah.
that.
No, it was only 255 before. It was 100 for the yeet, and that
Oh,
cleared out, and
okay.
that
I
was
thought it was
all
gonna
the
be like
yeet that
something
was
like
right there.
900 or something like that. Anyway,
No, it wasn't high at all.
um, right. So I am ready to get started. All I need to do is I'm going to you see the bag is quite big on my back. I'm just gonna throw this over my head for a bit. You're if that if my assumption of how this may work is correct, then you should see something happen. I don't know what, because I don't know how this works, but it should be fine.
Time to fuck around and find out. Science!
Yeah.
I mean, you've contractually blocked me
Science!
from asking about that thing, so
And so he like kind of sits down, brings this little like circle around and slams it on the ground. And then like he tries not to, but it's very heavy. And then he like throws the bag over his head, and you hear just like, okay, so let's have a look here. Let's see, void. Right. And then you kind of see a large glow emanate from the backpack, or not backpack, but the little sack. And this this couple over here stops tweaking and instead focuses really closely on the sack. Yes, I'm aware. Thank you. On
Is
the
it,
bag.
which side? Is it focusing on the sack on his back or Firefist's nuts?
Oh, Jesus Christ. The biggest balls. um. Anyway,
Sorry. I'm
it's
sorry.
focusing on his bag that has the strange thing within. It's like anything is working. Does anything change?
Yeah, it's focusing really hard on your bag.
Okay, good. I guess. So it's probably just that it was trying to search for something. It might have not had something to find.
Well, what magic did your bag use? Is it void magic or is it something else?
Oh, it's yes, void. Uh, I wanted to see if it will react to that.
Okay, so let's try that again. What kind of magic did your bag use?
Right. He like kind of throws it back over his head and tightly closes it up. And like the point of the matter is we know that it reacts, and that's good. Which means that one, it's assumedly working. I don't know, and two, it seems to be working well. Did it twitch while it was? Did it freak out while it was doing so, or did it seem to fix the problem?
I mean, it stopped clicking and it locked right onto you.
Well, there we go.
Is it clicking again, Trust?
It is.
So the clicking is a pulse, a search pulse, and this is looking for whatever magic that you just used.
Yeah, so basically
Sorry.
all these little things are just kind of like all these little you notice that like all of these are kind of like softly like ticking in like a little metronome of their own. Just this one's a bit louder than the others. It's doing it a little bit more juddery.
Do we need this, Alice? Do you have anything you know about this?
You did actually
Uh,
see this work in the void.
I'm sorry, one more time.
You did actually see this work in the void. This was these machines here are the ones that actually were redirecting the flow of the magic around you.
You cut out a couple times there.
What the fuck? These are the machines that were redirecting the flow of magic around you, the flow of the void around you. These are what grab the magic of the void.
Ah, so like basically instead of thrusters or like a more conventional engine, these like manipulate the void magic to move the ship.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay.
Oh my god, it's like in fucking Futurama where they move the fucking universe around them instead of moving inside of it.
So basically, what these do is these weren't used for thrusts, but they were used for shielding and maneuvering things around them, so they didn't have to get
Hmm.
slapped by those storms that were coming through. And that's also why it was enshrouded by a storm to begin with. They had the as a last ditch, it was to enshroud itself with a storm, so at least the crew would not be harmed from anything outside, presumably. Yippee! So
Okay,
these
well,
are
I would
definitely
relate that.
essential. Go ahead, sorry.
I just said I was gonna relay that.
Huh. So you use as propulsion. So regular potion does work in the void, or do you need an alternate thrust source?
What you doing, Reeve? I see you looking around.
I'm just listening and poking around.
That's fair.
Well, okay. Oh shit. Sorry. Excuse me. I don't know, I'm yawning all of a sudden.
You mentioned engines. Does it have
Uh,
an engine room?
does it have an engine room?
Alice, it does have an engine room. It's below the quarters.
Can we go scope it out?
Why don't I take you inside? Let's go have a look together.
Yeah,
Cool.
sure. Yippee! Oh, yeah, Orion just gets thrown directly in the trash. Fair.
You see Wreath with one of the skulls of one of the old crewmates. Alas, poor Yorick.
Oh,
Nice.
that's grim. That's one of her friends, man.
Oh,
Please, please don't disturb them.
I mean, we're probably gonna need to bury them at some point, aren't we?
Yes,
Yeah.
I've got that handled. Please just leave them be.
All right. Pops the head back onto the corpse.
Yeah.
Thank you.
There is a lot of trash.
He didn't know.
There is so much trash. Good lord.
I mean, we can probably
Let's
feed
think of it.
Terra for several months in there.
Oh my god.
No, we're not feeding Terra the void trash.
It's a lifetime
I
supply.
I didn't actually get a chance to clear this up because I was kind of in a hurry to get back, but this actually goes somewhere. If I could have you guys help to clear that out, we'll be able to get to more of the ship.
Yeah.
Hold on for a sec. Fire Fist,
I know what you're on about.
send
You
them.
walk down there.
I was debating asking that. Is her ship fireproof?
Don't
No, no.
burn-
He's not letting out fire.
I
He said he's gonna
meant
send him.
I meant send the kobolds.
Oh.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh, I was just gonna burn the trash.
Orion
No,
just,
no, yeah, send the kobolds.
Orion
for
like
kobolds.
holds on to one of the rails and is like, "Okay, I'm ready." You see that they're like their arm is like locked firmly around
Brace.
the roll, and the guy's like,
Everybody brace.
oh dear," and he like sits in one of the chairs and like locks in. You said you're gonna ask the kobolds to do this range.
I mean, I was just gonna burn the shit myself. I can ask the kobolds if you'd like me to.
It's safer.
It's safer.
All right. Well, in that case, he'll whistle really loudly.
You yell really loudly, and the barbecue goers turn their heads. Like, you want some barbecue?
Nope, got a task for you to help out with though.
What do you need?
Lot of trash out of this place. Don't really care where it goes. Just out of the way so we can get to where we need to go in here.
Is there cool stuff in there?
Maybe we'll find out. We're not exactly sure what's in here.
Mystery stuff.
Oh no.
You just hear them like turn, and you just hear them like yap back and forth between themselves. There's yips and yaps of mystery stuff, mystery trash, mystery things, free stuff, shinies. And you hear like a few kobolds whispering about what they think might be in there, and then you
Oh
just
my
hear
god.
the storm approaching.
They're like Squid from Guild Wars.
Like,
I am getting that vibe.
so we can take all the trash,
You take all the trash.
all the trash.
Just of the bags.
Just hear this as they approach.
And so you just see a yes. Go ahead. you just hear the oncoming storm. You feel it in the ground. You feel the shaking beneath your feet. The ship is rattling as a swarm approaches.
Oh no.
The
Off for the moment. You wanted this.
Luna's like, oh dear.
I'm entertained.
Yeah, you go, guy.
So you just see Wreath, you just see a swarm. It's like it's fucking Costco and it just opened. There's just like an absolute swarm going through, and they just like a beam of solid things. They just go in and start each of them taking like a bag and running away with it. they pick up just
The ant swarm.
yeah, exactly. They pick up just bag after bag after bag and box after box. They anywhere they can get to steal things that they know is trash and they know you won't care about, they're grabbing. They're not going to be like picking up every little piece, but they're going to be doing a pretty good job, and at least getting out the big stuff.
Hell yeah.
I mean, as long as they clear the stairwell so we can get down there, is all we really care
Yep.
about. They're going above and beyond now.
You just see
As long as they
like
don't take anything that isn't trash, we're good.
one more time, sorry.
As long as they don't take anything that isn't trash, we're good.
Yep.
Yeah, they're just. You can hear like a bunch of them like uh arguing over whose bag is who down below and like what they can and can't. Like, what about the rug? Rugs aren't trash, idiot. And like little. What about the bed? Beds also aren't trash. What about the chair? Dubious. We'll leave it.
Dubious.
We'll leave it just in case.
Just the bags and the boxes. Thank you guys.
Bags and boxes. And you hear like one very enthusiastic guy. Oh man, and then you hear a tongue.
I know, guys. We'll find you something. We'll find you something shiny later, right, man?
And they so now the barbecue is slowly turning into a barbecue and also flea market that has just spawned from all the refuse around. There's like little trinket boxes that were used to hold like rations. There's uh all manners of equipment and tools and etc. that were in the bags. Uh they're just they're having a good time. But yes, the
Hell yeah.
way down is in fact clear now.
Say what you will about them, but their enthusiasm is only matched by the diligence.
They're a force. It's-
They are indeed a force.
Let's fucking go into the depths.
Woohoo!
Oh yeah. Make sure I load the
Fucking
right
sick.
one.
It's the most
Yeah.
freaking hair metal I have ever made, Firefish. Jesus fuck.
Ah,
Oh dear. He like tumbles down the stairs behind you guys. You
are
you
you
hear
alright,
just
Professor?
just a tang as this like heavy ass thing fucking bends the platform that lands. I was like, oh, sorry.
Don't worry about it. This is junk anyway.
Do we see the box with the skull and cross? The room
You
with the
do.
skull and crossbones?
You do see the giant ass hatch at the end with the skull and crossbones. It seems that.
Alice?
Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
It seems that whatever it is, no one would put trash around it or in its way.
Alice, what is that?
Do I remember? Do you want me to roll for it?
That is the room. That is how you get to the engine. That is what powers the engine.
Right. But like, do I know what it is exactly, or
You don't know what's inside, but what you do know is what the engines are run by, the core of the ship, the thing like where everything is as far as running the ship is in there.
Hmm.
You do also remember that it says in your notes very explicitly clearly that you and only you are allowed down.
Allowed what?
to what?
You and only you are allowed down there. No crew are allowed.
Like in the place we're in right now, or when?
No, the
In,
skull and
in
crossbones.
down the hatch. Like you would not let any crew
Okay.
down there. We do get
Well,
a chance to
from
see
my
your crew
notes-
quarters. Go ahead, sorry.
Well, from my notes, this is what runs the engine. none of the crew was allowed to go there though. So maybe give me a moment. I'll go have a look just to make sure it's actually safe. There's plenty of rooms to
Okay.
look around in the meantime, and
Yeah.
I'll be back.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna start
I'll,
putting through
I'll
the
poke
rooms while
around
she's
for
doing
cute.
that.
I'll poke around for cool trinkets and books.
Yep,
If there's
that's what I'm
any
doing
books,
too.
especially.
Books,
Yeah.
notes.
So as we are having like a look around here, I'm gonna briefly move us over this way. Alice, you're hopping down,
Yeah.
and you're hopping down alone.
Yep.
Sure. All right. Let's try that again.
Oh, I'm gonna die.
Oh. No.
Oh.
Yeah, so you hop down this large hatch and end up on a massive platform that leads out and like leads out to this huge fucking machinery. And down beneath this large platform, which you see like the back of the conventional thruster and what should have been the power source for the ship at large. However, it seems to be a bit covered. You can see there are rifts to the void that are just open all around this fucking thing. It is a large growth, a large flower that has taken over. It is very tightly wound over whatever this used to be.
That
Er,
is nothing like my notes. This is not normal.
I recommend Tara. She's good at flowers and bondage.
Oh my
Oh
god.
my god.
Oh my god.
You hear Alice. Hold on. Give me just one. Give me just one. Give me just one. Give me just 1 second. I need to get my dark magic playlist. 1 second.
Oh no. No.
You hear soft whispers that turn into voices coming from this flower. Alice. Sounds very similar to voices of your crew. Alice. Alice. You should come closer to the flower.
I am not going to do that. Thank you very much. What are you?
Alice. Come closer. Come on.
How about you give me something and then I'll come closer?
It's just relentless with whispering about chattering about how you just need to shut up about you just needing to approach and you'll be together if you just get closer and you should just take a step, come down here, it's fine, it'll be okay, come on, you've guided us before. The only reason we failed was because you left. Come on. You're not scared, are you?
I'm not scared, but I don't know what you are.
Don't worry. It'll all be okay.
Can I try to reach out to the axolotl and see if I can get any help from it before I just fucking throw
Sure.
myself into this?
Sure.
Want me to roll?
I would love for you to roll.
Fuck's sake. Literally every single time. I'm gonna use the These Nuts token because I'm gonna
Okay.
fucking die if I like go into this. Please eat my token.
Okay.
There we go.
Howdy,
Just
partner.
eat your token like eating your nuts. Sorry.
So
Yes. That's what they did with them. Oh
yeah, I was
my
gonna say the
god.
doctor having a crunchy snack after the um.
You're telling me my guys who bombs are just fucking teabag
So
until they see here. Sorry, I'm sorry.
so you kind of tell me how you reach out to the axolotl. What would you are you passing your vision to it? Are you just asking it for advice?
You are cutting out a
We're
lot.
losing you.
We're cutting out massively,
What
Bab.
the fuck, Richard? Why? It shouldn't be. I don't know why it is. Okay, maybe if I stop talking away from microphone and start talking directly into it.
Nope.
Nope.
Wild.
What? It's so stream's detecting me, but Discord isn't, is what's happening. Let me try rejoining.
Depends when we're playing wizards.
How about
Yep.
now? Is it better? Do you hear me?
Can hear
Sounds
you.
better.
Okay.
You'll see Wreath with Trust's Wi-Fi router in his hand. Alas, poor Wi-Fi. We knew him well.
Oh my god. So, in what way are you trying to contact this axolotl? Are you sharing your vision with him? Are you asking him for advice? What are you giving? Like, what are you doing?
I'm gonna share my senses with it basically, so it can experience what I am as well.
Does that go both ways?
No.
Okay. So you see it violently just retch and recoil. Its gills like shoot back, and it glares with a violent anger at whatever it is you're looking at. It doesn't like.
Okay, well, this is clearly not good. I'm glad I didn't mindlessly jump into this. Uh, how how do I deal with this?
The only two words you have ever heard this being speak. The only two words you have ever heard the axolotl say in a raspy, clear, like it's very clear in your head, but it sounds like it's speaking through clenched teeth, even though it doesn't really have that. Purge it.
Purge it?
Yep.
How?
By any means necessary. Call upon whatever forces you need. Get the filth, the rot out of this world.
Damn. Okay.
Whoa.
Okay. Didn't know the XL could be that angry. A little scary.
Call upon those who hate you. For there is nothing more sick than the filth you have found.
Damn. All right. Shit. Um. Am I? Whoa.
Why would
What
you
the
do that?
fuck?
Why?
What?
I don't even know what happened. Sorry.
Someone picked up the
She
board.
grabbed the board.
I don't even know how I did that. What the fuck? I tried to move
Somebody
my.
forgot to lock it.
No, it was locked. It was drag selectable, so it got unlocked somehow.
I tried to move my my figurine and the board just came with it. Okay, I'm gonna head out then.
Yeah. Let's see.
I mean, I assume she's coming to get us. So
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Not
you
sure if
can
we're
you
doing-
can go back to
Yep, I'm
like
switching now.
yeah, I just meant like the like top floor of the ship because I'm just gonna go through and like gather
Okay,
everyone
yeah,
basically.
you got it. Yeah, sure. Meh.
Uh, uh, oh,
What's up, Alice?
What's up?
So there's something where the engine still is. It's like a growth of some sort. I asked my patron for help. And it spoke for the first time.
Oh, that's
Um,
lovely. That's very handy.
It had nothing good to say about whatever is down there.
Oh,
It made it very clear that it needs to be purged from this world.
okay.
I
Well, you have
don't
the
know
right
what it
people.
is. I don't know what I brought back with me, but it is no good.
Did he say
Okay.
anything else?
That was pretty much it.
Out of character, you're
Well,
not going to mention the part about calling those who hate you.
I mean, it's you guys. That's why I gathered you to ask for help.
We're not the ones who hate you.
I thought Trust said aid you.
No, hate. It
Oh,
basically said, call upon the ones who would seek you dead because they will become your allies, for there is no greater filth than what you found.
oh, okay. I completely misunderstood that. My bad.
Yeah. It's kind of like, I hate you, don't get me wrong, but compared
Yeah,
to
no, I
that
get,
guy.
I get where you're going with this.
Yeah.
So I will relay that to the party, and I look at Saul. As much
Well.
as I hate to say this, I think I'm gonna have to try and get your mother's help to get rid of that thing.
wait. What? What do you mean?
It's said to call uh, upon those who hate me to get rid of it. Maybe,
That'd be Spark.
yeah. I mean, probably some royalty that also hates me out here at this point. But I would think it's probably Spark.
I mean, there's
I
Bike
mean,
Queen, but yeah, probably Spark.
I don't know that. I don't know that that our queen that your queen hates Alice.
Oh, that's true. No, she was actually quite enamored. Huh.
Yeah,
Yeah, she seemed quite pleased
I
that I
mean,
dropped a ship on top of her.
She does
yeah, she's
that.
into that.
She is.
Alice, she really responds to me. I've only ever spoken to her twice, and once was with you.
Oh, trust me. She'll respond to me just fine. She's why I crash landed this over here.
I mean, I think
Oh.
we already knew that, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. I mean,
Uh,
she always,
But sorry.
the last time I talked to her, she also didn't have anything good to say about you at
Okay,
all, actually.
so and the professor kind of pops up and is like, okay, so correct me if I'm wrong. I'm sorry, I don't have the context for any of this. Uh, Spark, the lady you asked about before, is very angry. She's very mean normally. And you're asking her over to help with something because a patron, which I did not know that you had, of apparently the void, which I did not entirely know you communed with, uh, did not like what you found.
Yeah. Oh, and also, if you want to blow your mind a little more, I'm the child of Spark, the Void, her old patron of the Void as well.
Okay.
You get used to it around these people. Don't worry.
Oh, I know. I'm very
Soul's
familiar with
waving.
wizards, just not your particular
Hello.
party.
Oh, these guys are worse than normal.
Hey.
I've gathered. Sorry, no
Hey.
offense.
In a good way.
Hopefully. Okay. So, what exactly was it did you find?
Uh, there was some kind of plant growth, encroaching on the engine. It called to me and tried to uh tell me to essentially embrace it. Which sounded kind of ominous. Not gonna do that.
He it takes a few moments and thinks. He's like, okay, let's see. I know I've heard this before. I know I've heard this before somewhere. Void, roots, flowers. God, I know it's somewhere in my notes. I've seen it before. It was mentioned countless times.
Do you have your notes with you?
I've only have a few. I wasn't able to carry that many through the waste. I was attacked several times.
Why don't I have a look? And I since I can read stupid fast, I just like to see if there's
Yeah,
mention in
he
there.
hands over like a little notebook. He says, "Oh, and remember, the things you learn go nowhere. Only the things that you see about the flower. Got it?"
You got it.
He reluctantly crouched at the starting line. Engine, oh, sorry. Hands you like a little notebook. Well, I say little. Little compared to the things you're talking about. It's a fucking rather large like book of his writing. It's got like pages hanging out. But it is very tightly bound. Um, Not in a way you can't like unbind it. It's very clear. It's not meant to be opened on accident.
Mhm.
Um, and as you're reading through this, you see several mentions of uh like he said studies of ancient magic. You see a lot of disdain for wizards, a lot of disdain for wizards, a lot of disdain for wizards. It's pretty consistent as a theme. Um, but you see him talking about protecting an artifact of extreme importance from getting in anyone's hands because uh, it is the precursor to whatever the queens are up to these days. Um, God forbid they still continue their research. Um, and then you finally get to the notes about the void, um, where he mentions. I'm not quite sure what exactly it is that they're talking about, but in the old texts that talk about the voids or the bell, they mention several entities not to cross. They say if there is one that looks like yourself, do not make a deal. They say if there is one that looks like a flower, run away and forget. They say if there is one that looks like a woman, then beg for forgiveness. And if you see an axolotl, you might finally have salvation after all.
Oh shit.
Huh.
Okay.
Well, we can assign a tag to a few of those.
So, the big thing is that the flower he goes on at length to say like in a side note that every the thing was that if you see the flower to run away, if you see yeah. So it mentions that the flower is a very, very odd, very strange species that grows in the void. It is something that no one knows what the fuck its deal is. They just know that its whole deal is that it finds cracks in the worlds and that it grows until it can't anymore. That's what it does. It tries to reach out to anything it can and use it as a place to grow. It's like a giant fucking tree, but it's in the void.
So it's the giving tree or the yearning tree.
No.
It
Oh,
No, it's
sounds
not
like
the way you
giving
know
tree
it.
milk too.
More like just a taking tree.
Yeah. This one doesn't give you anything back. It's just Slurpee. It's Turkey Slurpee, but tree. Basically, to TLDR what's happened, a bud of the tree that is a bud of this plant that seeks out worlds that it can from the void. It looks for cracks in the void, 2 different worlds to grow. A bud of that tree has rooted in the ship, and you've taken it home.
shit.
And that is why the axolotl was very disgusted by it.
Well, let's go down see what Spark has to say, and if not, I guess we get to find out how it responds to Fire Fist.
Yes.
Mm.
Preferably, we
Actually,
yeah.
Go ahead.
how about we have no idea what Spark might do. If
Well-
she is given the chance to get to any of you.
If she has the power to get to us, she would have used it by now.
And she knows I care about you, and I believe she did mention before that she wouldn't hurt you guys because of me.
I do have a
Sounds
suggestion.
unlikely. Yeah.
What's
If
up?
we're worried about this equipment, we could try at least disconnecting it from the flower before we invite the thing that might destroy it.
Doesn't
Yeah.
sound like getting close to this flower thing's a good idea.
We can at least get rid of what's useful on this top floor, and then
There
I
has to
don't
be some sort
know-
of terminal or something to tell it to stop.
tell
Master
what
control.
stop.
Like there has to
Power?
be something to let me see what I wrote in my notes. Let's see. Like if it's heavily
you have a
integrated
master?
with the ship, uh, and if the ship's feeding off of the flower, if the flower's taking over the power supply, there's got to be some like backup, some way. They must have thought about some way to stop it from eating from that source, just in case things went wrong. If we,
Oh, an emergency
I mean, just
dispatch.
power off the engine.
yeah, there
Well,
must be
it's
some way to
off.
do
Well,
that.
Well, the engine's off. It's the we need to shut off the actual power source for the engine. There's gonna be an emergency disconnect
Or
somewhere.
at the very least, disconnect
Um,
it from the engine. Is there a
yeah.
terminal? Is there?
Probably the master control terminal. Alex, can you interface with the cockpit still? Or
Can I have a
whatever this one
look?
is here.
I think Trust said it was broken.
So it
probably
is,
not.
but the screens around it are not. Your Hamdi Damdery, so particularly these screens over here are in fact displaying stats of the ship as it is.
Do we
Okay.
see anything that blazingly says emergency cutoff?
You do see something that says sorry. You do see something that's it mentions like power routing.
Let's start there. And I like point
Yeah.
at where it says power routing.
Awesome. As you hit that, it opens up a large grid that shows where the power and fuel and everything are flowing in the ship. It seems like most of the ship is interconnected, just in case. And I have a little puzzle. You want to do my little puzzle that I prepared and spent way too much goddamn time on?
Sure.
I'm delighted, because I would be sad otherwise. Let's see. So, by the way, this might freak out for just a hot second.
Whoa.
Yeah,
Oh, what the hell? This is cool. Okay,
I know,
so
right?
we've got
Okay,
this is
so
communications. This is the flower. This is
so this would be the
something
fuel.
and a gun. A fuel. Oh, it's a
Sorry,
jerry
yeah.
can. Okay.
Fuel, engine, flower, and the socket things you saw, and then these are stabilizers. That's what the ship is labeling as. Yeah, you can move them around. So
I have disconnected the flower from the
Yeah.
power. No.
So you're aiming for in order for the ship's parts to be all communicating with each other and properly working in a way that doesn't suck ass and not connect to the flower. The flower cannot touch the engine or fuel. The flower can touch the sockets or stabilizers. The engine must touch both stabilizers, and all sockets must be connected, which I will put in the little thing, don't worry. And I verified this is correct. Like, this is a thing that can do it. I have done it. I solved it myself because I was worried. I made sure. I made absolutely certain. And I am giving you the extra hint of all sockets must be connected because I figured that would probably be a little bit easier.
Sockets as in the whole grid needs to be covered.
So these
The
these are what I'm
Oh,
referring to as sockets. Yeah, sorry.
the green bits need to be connected with each other.
Shit. How do I rotate again? Nope. Fuck. How do I spin this object
Are
around?
we allowed to rotate?
Yeah.
Mouse wheel, rotate.
Oh my! Oh, thank you.
Really clever making a puzzle like this. This is fun.
Thank you. I got the
Mini game.
idea from a game that Vivi played.
Wait, the engine needs to go here.
Oh, very cool, very cool.
Can't go there because we can't fit this thing back there. All right,
Well,
that works. This goes here, and that means this goes.
wait. Flower can't touch socket.
Oh, you're right. Can we move the flower? Does it have to stay there?
You can move it.
Flower
Yes.
can touch sockets actually.
Oh, it can. I'm sorry. Its engine has to touch stabilizers, which is these ones here. So it has to.
Basically, the flowers just can't touch these things or the engine.
Ah, okay.
And I'll take the liberty of naming everything as well, so it's nice and easy. I made all these are renders of models, by the way. I made like little models for each one and then rendered them onto like little pieces.
There you go.
Vivi, nice work.
Hell.
The sockets are not connected.
Oh shit, they're not.
Like
They're with all the other objects. So they're connected.
Yeah, all four green things have to touch each other.
Yeah.
Oh, gotcha.
I was like, damn, that was fast. Shit, I didn't fucking solve that thing on that fucking fast.
There's gonna be a way to tweak this solution to make it work, though.
I wanted you guys to have a I've had this idea for a while where I wanted to give you a challenge that was skill based and not chance based.
The
Hey,
problem is,
cool.
trust, I'm stupid.
Well, then let the non-stupid people do it.
The power of teamwork. Hey, listen, for
Also,
you guys
no
being absolute
self-deprecation.
badasses. No. I'm saying that if you want to ever have some trash eaten, I am absolutely your gal.
Let
We can
me
flip
put
them
that
too.
here. Let's do this there.
We can flip them as well.
Hmm.
So
bothers
you can't flip flip them upside down, but you can turn them.
Oh,
Yeah. So you can't so you can't fucking do that, right?
oh, then that's supposed to be like that then.
Okay.
Oh,
Is it?
well, that helps.
I feel like I'm playing Myst.
Thank you. That's a really
phenomenal.
high compliment.
Yeah, right? I was gonna say that's a huge compliment. Holy
Is it,
fuck.
though?
I like
Yeah,
Myst.
I think so.
What's missed?
It's
Oh my
a
god, you're such a child.
it's a walking simulator puzzle game. Also, Twitch, he's fucking but they change it.
Flower can't touch fuel.
Yep. I verified this is solvable. Yeah. Yes,
Oh, for
Raphael, we
sure
did
it
mention
is.
that
We just
game.
need to.
I'm having so much fun. This is so cool.
Wait, hang on. Can I try something?
Yeah, go for it.
This would be stupid, but
Mr. on Xbox, nice.
yeah, and then
That doesn't work, and it can't touch the fuel.
oh fuck, you're right.
Yep, and both stabilizers have to touch the engine.
Hmm. If we do it this way, the rockets would have to be like this if we put the engine in a corner.
Let's start with this then. Well, hang on. Let's start with the engine in the middle,
Okay.
and
No,
then
we don't want the engine in the middle because there's no way to keep it away from the flower then.
Yeah, so it's definitely not in the middle, so it's more likely to be in one of the corners. Or offset as a start. A really good shout. So in that case, it would either be on either side or both on the same side. Then we would need to use this or these as a buffer from the flower. And then the flower can fit in a corner like
Oh wait,
this.
you got it.
Yeah.
No, but the
eh,
yes, that's correct there, unknown. And then we just need to fill the
Yep,
gaps.
that's it. Nice. Good shit.
Only thing is the sockets aren't all touching. You got very close.
Wait, what?
All the green things
Oh,
need to
the
be touching.
Oh, this.
Yep.
Oh no! Don't undo everything. Hold on for a sec. Let's see. Flower here. Let's leave this socket here. Is there a way to make this work? Sorry. Rotate. Yeah, that.
We can't fit one
Not
of the
there.
sockets if we
That
do
won't
that.
work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if
So
you
we
put them
need-
along the edges and then the flower
Oh.
at the opposite end.
You want to move things around to show us?
Here. I mean, we just basically put these at the ends and then fit these within the middle.
The fuel cannot touch the flower.
Ah. Well, let's see.
Can
The
we-
sockets all have to touch.
Can we
So-
leave it how it was? Can we leave it how it was for a second? Just let me give it a shot.
Yeah,
go
go
for it.
for it.
So this was here. Let's see, rotate. I got it, I think.
Hey.
Yeah.
Oh,
Did this get
Nice.
flipped?
let's fucking go.
no,
No,
it didn't
just
get flipped.
rotate it.
Oh no, it's fine.
I think one of the fuel got flipped, but it's fine. You got close.
No, the fuel was flipped by the fuel. Everything's correct. I flipped the fuel
Okay.
early on, but I undid it later on.
Okay.
you
Yeah,
go.
that's correct. Okay, yeah. Cool. That was not the solution I got as well. Cool. That's fucking badass.
That's so fun.
So you actually got a solution that was correct. That wasn't even the one that I got. Fuck yeah. Hell yeah. I like that. That's fucking cool.
That was fun. Thank you for setting this up.
Thank you. Thanks
Yeah.
for playing.
Thank you. Okay.
And then we're going to reload back into our main game, which is going to take a sec. I do apologize.
That was fucking cool to work together on this.
Yeah.
Only problem now
Where
is
is he?
11, so Trust is gonna drop a cliffhanger on us any moment.
Yeah.
Why is he here? Where is he?
It's not cheese.
We
It's not.
open the
Shut
door.
the fuck up. It's not cheese.
If there's something
If
No.
there's something that
to
you need.
appease
Then I am cheese. He just crawls out of the cockpit. Like,
Bah.
Can I hurl him out the window?
No.
I mean, you can.
No.
How'd you enjoy the barbecue?
I don't know why I'm here. I think I had too much
Beer.
beer.
Actually, you know what? You are a very powerful wizard. What do you know about void entities?
I know a bit and such, not too much.
Anything specifically about a flower?
Nope. Snaps his fingers. It just pops out of existence.
Oh!
Ah.
Alrighty then.
Here,
Oh.
Okay, so
there.
do we cut power to the flower? I
Yeah.
guess?
So you see the ship's like power just go doo-doo-doo-doo-doo, and then start to power back up. And this time that annoying fucking ticking is gone. Um, all of the like sockets on the outside, all of the connectors uh are functioning properly. They seem to be able to hone in and find where they're at. And you hear a very soft hum coming from the engine of the ship.
I like the engine, meaning where the flower was.
Pardon? Sorry?
You, the engine, is that where the flower was?
Yes.
Okay.
Maybe we should go take a peek and see what's going on in there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll go have a look on my own because
Okay.
it does try to tempt you. I don't know how any of you might react or what it might say to you. I've already experienced it and I was okay. So it's probably safer to just have me go by
I mean,
myself.
I've been tempted by at least 3 things.
Yeah, and you
Why?
have a
Kind of
fucking
our-
Wait.
you have a deal
Getting
with the
tempted
devil.
by
Uh,
getting
uh, uh,
tempted by things is kind of the whole deal for us. So except Orion.
I'd-
Orion sucks at
I'd like
this.
to go with you.
Well, guess what? This is how we do things now. She like wraps her arms around you. I like grabs her arm around you. We're going together as a team.
She grabs your arm and just flings it off and all right, I guess we're going. We're doing this.
That's fair. I deserve that. Huh. Huh. Kickflip the professor. Hey,
Oh my god.
home run. Sorry, Alex. Please. So before you freak out, I gotta move you. Don't worry about it. Just gotta move you.
It's saving me. Ah!
We're being
Huh.
stolen by the flower.
Oh no. Goodbye.
Well, that looks problematic.
Oh my
Yeah, you
god,
don't
that's
say.
disgusting.
Gross.
Yeah.
Yeah, with all due respect, I'm going to stay back here.
Solid plan.
Lame.
I'm just gonna be close enough to hear the bickering with Soul's mom.
I'm gonna get close to like the same distance that I was when it was speaking to me earlier. See what it says now. I hope it
It
screams
is
in pain.
calling to you very intently. It's basically business as usual, even though it's not really connected to the. It was trying to interface with the ship before. Now it doesn't have to. You're already here, and it's already on a world.
Gotcha. Okay.
And so I kind of see like there's just spores kind of rising up from some of the roots. It's got little bioluminescent patches that kind of coil up some of the vines.
There's spores.
Okay.
Yeah.
How are we feeling on time? Do we still have go for
It
it?
is
Doc.
11
If
o'clock.
there's any ventilation ducts, I am going to telekinesis them shut right now.
So time. Firefist, how you doing?
I'll definitely need to wrap soon. Said you had to work tomorrow.
You got a boss?
Yeah, why don't we continue next time then? Because this is
Yep.
probably going to get quite involved.
Yep, works for me.
Looks like
Hell
a
yeah.
Metroid boss fight.
Thank you. Yeah.
Give me a second. I'll send over goodies that I made.
Oh, show and tell.
Basically.
New entry for the notes. I see you guys are fleeing before she pulls into Uno.
I'm not gonna pull Uno.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just always tempted to pull Uno.
While I'm working on sending things, you guys are welcome to do any other sort of rap you got going on.
I'm good.
I've got some
That
stuff
was
to
fun.
do after stream, or not, or between streams of Trust now, but
Yippee! There we go.
Holy
Whoa.
shit.
well, Despondent Terra, Happy Terra. These are all very cute, Meef.
Yay!
Yeah,
thank
very
you.
cute.
I love the little kobolds. Okay. Here we go. The hell? Where is it?
Yeah, boy.
Transform. Fit the screen. Oh, right. Yeah. I killed the thing that it was selecting before it could be shown. That would do it. Here we go. Let's also switch to something a little bit more.
Oh my gosh.
Here you go. So we have why is it not playing?
It's playing.
Oh, it didn't learn from me. There you go. Okay. So we have a little Terra, sad Terra. Look at her go. So fluffy.
It was the hobo mode that Solstice was used to living with.
We have a very happy Terra.
There you go. See, she's getting better. She gets to go to rock concerts now.
She stole that shirt from Firefest.
Oh,
Yeah.
100%.
If she did, it would be like 12 sizes larger.
We
She
have
trimmed it.
Alice threatening to kill me.
Seeing that image with this song hits very different.
It's just
Fucking funny.
It's just
I love
happy
it.
times as every, like, the party's like dancing, having a great time, celebrating the fact that Alice is finally kicking my ass.
I bet Firefist likes wearing tight crop tops. I'm just saying.
Yeah, but a tight crop top on Firefist would not be tight on
True.
This is your trade, your little bargain with your familiar.
Yeah. The Vasha stretched out them pobs. I stretched out my pobs. Bonds were exchanged. I'm a weird sort of hungry.
I do like to mention the fact that, like, despite you not casting many spells, you are unironically, like, mechanically speaking, the most powerful character on the board right now. Because you have a familiar.
You know, it's really great having all this power. I have no fucking idea what to do with.
Is
I
it
think it's
awesome?
funny that way, honestly.
You only have to pay your
I mean-
familiar if you roll underneath your current insight. If you roll over, you just get that insight
Yeah.
for free.
I mean, if
So
we were
I just
playing,
Hmm?
if we were playing wizards properly, you'd be more powerful than the rest of us. But
I mean, even then, she still kind of is because she can just kind of cast spells with what the fuck.
Whee!
I mean, like they're. Go ahead, sorry.
so can everybody else, thanks to infinite these nuts tokens.
Alex is being eaten good lately. Well, actually, I want to say we haven't done as many spells, so that's fair. He's gotten a couple though. The tournament gave some good tokens to Alex.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. And that's specifically to this song,
Yeah.
so good shit, but keep it down, queen.
And thus,
You sound
Orion
so
was
delighted.
traumatized. And then hear the little kobolds just crawling out of every fucking orifice to help.
I love this.
Yep.
I love kobolds. I love the little kobolds. Badass will be in the server.
Yeah, I can post this in the server.
Cool. Hell yeah. Great fucking work as always.
Thank
I like
you.
this. I like this painty style you're doing.
I'm having fun with painty styles lately.
Alright, let's find someone to rate to.
Friend time.
Yeah.
Dash and Barry are live. Um,
Alright. Fuck. Eh. Okay, we're good. Don't worry about it.
Great.
Yeah. We can raid. We can totally raid the berry. I was freaking out because I'm recording the same browser tab that I opened up on Twitch, so it started playing random fucking people.
oh, huh.
I don't like hearing random people talk on my stream because it scares me what they might say.
That's fair.
I mean, that's usually the smart thing to do with Twitch. You don't allow people on your stream unless you fully trust them.
Yep. Okay. I do thank you all for playing Wizards. We actually got through the majority of the content that I had planned. That was fun as hell.
Hell yeah.
Did you enjoy it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Had a good time, Bean.
Let's say next weekend.
Yay!
As not, yeah, evidenced by the sheer lack of passion in artwork. I was super checked out.
Oh yeah,
man.
you were just you didn't enjoy a single
Yeah.
piece of it, you know.
Nah, bro.
Let's
I,
see.
I can't fucking even say that without fucking cracking up a little.
Tomorrow we're gonna be playing some motherfucking Gary's mod for Continental. I'll be live throughout the week at the times you normally find me, probably Wednesday. I got some art to do, and I got some things to catch up on. I got so much shit to do. Goddamn. And then I got Friday. I will be streaming as per usual. I will probably be fucking ghosting out Thursday because that's therapy and all that. And then I'll be back Sunday. Let's fucking go. Saturday. Rage's birthday. He has a big stream. He'll have a big stream. Find him. Go. Yell at him.
Give him
With
love.
Zen. Goodbye. I didn't realize how short the timer was until I hit it.